Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
And today, Ryan, I can't believe we're talking about a film with such a heinous, vulgar, inhumane title. But we're talking Crimson Tide. We're talking Crimson Tide. It hurts me to even say out loud.
I know what
you might have
is.
to bleep that out. I'm sorry, the edit's going to be bad, but that's what they chose, and that's what we have to say. Unfortunately,
I was wondering how long it was going to take for us to get to your connection outside of this movie. And for any of our listeners,
0 seconds.
Yeah. Jay is a graduate of Auburn University, Auburn Tigers, War Eagle. And his rival is the Alabama Crimson Tide. And so it's going to be really hard for you to praise a movie called Crimson Tide when you are born to hate said rival, right? We all have actually a
they
rival.
Literally say Roll Tide. They say Roll Tide in the film, which is inexcusable.
Yeah, and you're just like, I can't vibe with this, and yet we're probably talking about a pretty damn good movie today. So I'm sorry, Jay, that you have to
I got thoughts.
I know you do. You have to confront your rival. Thank God there's no like movie by Tony Scott called Boomer Sooner out there or anything like that, or you know, Hail to Michigan or whatever. You know what I mean?
Go blue
here.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Go blue.
Maize and blue, what ugly colors. Horrible.
It's gonna be really great the second season of the football year for Sophia to be the biggest Longhorn fan on the planet when we play at the Big House. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course. Yeah. I was gonna say why because of Glenn Powell, but no.
Well, that too. We're in the summer of Powell.
That's why I'm the biggest fan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This was a question we had the other night between me and the missus. So, like, Glenn Powell is obviously the ascension from like McConaughey, right? Of like Texas actor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like before that is probably like, you have like your Patrick Swayze's and other people before him in like the 80s and whatnot that came before McConaughey. Who is the Texas presence that was before, like in the 70s, 60s? Like, do you guys probably like know that off the top of your head? Like, where's the start of it to how we get all the way to Glenn Powell? Or is it just kind of like modernized from McConaughey to Powell? I was just kind of thinking about that the other day. So
off the top of my head, not been tracking that super closely.
Well, you know what?
The
Shame on you.
60-year trajectory of Texas actors.
Oh,
but I mean, it is, you say Glenn Powell, he is obviously a Texas boy, but he does not exude Texas in the same way that someone like Matthew McConaughey does.
You know who I think it is, actually?
He does not at all. No, not at all.
I think it's Farrah Fawcett.
Hollywood.
I think she's the Texas 70s, the teeth, that smile, the blonde hair. Like, I think she's kind of that's the start of trace the lineage back.
I can go with that. That's the answer I was kind of looking for too.
Okay.
All right. Jay, of course we couldn't do this alone. We have a guest today. It's technically our official third host of the show. She's been on, the other episodes that you've been on this year. You're on Marie Antoinette, but before that you were on another movie starring Gene Hackman. You were on the French Connection episode. And of course it's our associate editor, Sophia Ciminello, here at AwardsWatch.
Hi guys. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about Crimson Tide. I was going to ask, I'm glad we did the Alabama Auburn thing at the top, because I was going to ask you, Jay, and Ryan, you too, how do you think Nick Saban would fare in a submarine?
Oh man, I think he'd kill it. Oh,
you think?
Is he more of a Denzel or a Hackman?
Oh, well, he's a defensive guy rather than an offensive guy. So he's not, he's more defensive than reactionary, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But certainly a traditionalist
Very much a traditionalist.
Very
That's
much.
the
in many ways.
that's the interesting part of it, right? It's just like, but he is a little bit by the books. I mean, like if you read his comments about NIL, he's very much traditionalist, right, and by the book, and doesn't want things to change. But at the same time, though, you know, he's prickly. He's a character. I don't
As
think
my sworn enemy, I would actually compare him to the Russian revolutionary in the film.
There we
The
go.
grand enemy.
So wait, who then on the Auburn side is Hackman? Because you all don't have
we don't have a Hackman.
you don't have a Hackman
nor a
or
Denzel.
Denzel. You
We haven't had one in a long time.
You have the guy that
No.
dies of the heart attack as in the film. Right? It's
Yeah,
like your head coach.
that's our quarterback.
Yeah. Isn't it, Jay? Can I ask you? And I know that all the listeners really want to know about our football takes here, but how kind of frustrating was it to see someone like Bo Nix leave Auburn and then go to a really great program like Oregon and then get drafted in the top 10, knowing that was your guy and you didn't have a guy last year at quarterback? Is that kind of frustrating, or is that like the microcosm of Auburn football?
It's certainly frustrating. He, you know, I'm personally not a believer that he's going to succeed in the NFL.
Yeah,
but
he's very system guy, but
he was just dealt a terrible hand at Auburn. I mean, the coaching staff that he had in his later years at Auburn is the worst coaching staff that Auburn has had in 50 years. I mean, Auburn had a really good run of head coaches, and then we made just a unforgivably bad hire, and that's who his coach was. And then he went to a program that ran a good offense and had stability, and he succeeded. I mean, he was a huge recruit out of high school.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised that he was a lot better at Oregon. I didn't think he would be that good, though.
Like a Heisman candidate?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Like second in the Heisman. No, didn't see that coming.
Was he second or I thought Penix was second?
I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it was like one of the worst Heisman years ever. No, it really was. It was a terrible Heisman year.
Pac-12, it doesn't count.
Well, it doesn't count anymore because it doesn't exist. Yeah.
You know, like Cal's in the ACC.
It doesn't make any sense.
California
it's bullshit.
Is in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
It does. I don't like it. I don't like that US. I don't like that.
We know.
I don't like that USC and Ohio State are in the same conference anymore. It doesn't. It just. There's certain things like that. I'm not throwing shades, Sophia.
The SEC has at least maintained some sort of geographical integrity.
Yeah, by adding Texas and Oklahoma into the SEC, I mean, it's still within the, it's still within
the circle still kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. You know what I mean? On paper, the Big 12 is just like, we'll take everybody else. Now, you know what I mean? The ACC is like, we didn't want to add anybody because nobody cares about our conference.
It's so weird that USC is in the Big Ten.
It's weird. Yeah.
University of Spoiled Children.
Oregon.
Oregon. Washington. Yeah. It's weird.
It's a lot of travel.
Sophia,
what are those softball teams going to do? What are the soccer teams going to do?
Well, they're all just going to lose to Texas and Oklahoma anyway because we're playing, if you're talking about softball. They're playing for a national championship.
I'm just talking about like those budgets aren't that high to be traveling across.
That's true. That's the Big Ten's fault now. That's not mine. No, I don't have to worry about that.
I think it's going to be bad for college athletics.
I think that college athletics, as we know, are going to maybe not exist.
But hey, NCAA football games back.
Oh my God. You guys don't know how much I am excited for that, even though it kind of just sounds like it's, I'm going to waste $75 on it.
Men aged 25 to 40 are counting down the days.
Jay, are you going to get it?
Of course I'm going to get it. This podcast is going to take a 3-month hiatus.
Jay's going to take like Akron all the way to the national championship in 20 seasons.
You know who my team was back in the day? And again, this podcast, we're off to a great start.
We're off to a great start.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
My old team was Eastern Carolina.
You know what? They're actually
they're
not half bad in baseball.
The purple Pirates.
I was going to say I always think of them with baseball.
Yeah. Oh, really, Jay? I used to do the Boise State because I'd like to play on the blue field when on your TV. It was cool. You know what I would do? is so not to keep going down this rabbit hole, but we're going to because it's the only time I'm ever going to get to talk about this. But so way back when the NCAA college game came out, you had to enter manually the players' names because they auto generated just
they didn't have the name and
Joe
likeness
Schmo.
rights.
Yeah, they didn't have all the rights and names and name paid
It
players.
was RB number 21.
Exactly. Or they put like a random John Smith the fourth or whatever like in there, right? And so
Love that guy. He was great in the New World.
There's a magazine that comes out every year here in the state of Texas for Dave Campbell's football magazine, and it's the big. It has all the rosters of all the college teams, all the high school football teams, the NFL teams. It is considered like the football like mecca, quote unquote, like Bible. Yes, and this year it has Texas and A&M on the cover because the rivalry is coming back. Which is not really a rivalry. When you beat somebody 75% of the time, it's not a rivalry. Anyway, just putting that out there.
Are you talking about how Oklahoma beat Texas like 12 of 15?
We don't have to.
No, we can't do this again. We can't.
You want to talk about that?
We can't.
Auburn, you want to talk about that? Shut your mouth, funny man. So thank you very much. Anyway,
I mean, we are the game, but it's okay. Ohio State, Michigan.
But of the rivalries here, you're like
number one,
third.
Okay.
No, the second.
All
Ryan,
right. Third.
Come on.
Oh,
I'd say the Iron.
There's a big two, and then
I would. Well, I mean, it just just is.
I mean, okay.
We're cutting all this out, right?
No, we're not. I mean, hopefully your coach wins one this year. That would be great. But
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I don't even really watch it anymore because it's
frustrating.
Ryan Day is horrible, but the rivalry still stands. We can do some Googling.
Anyway,
we all miss
I would spend like 2 hours putting in the rosters for Texas and maybe the Boise State one as well too. But it was a lot of time. And now the kids these days, they're not going to be able to remember what that's like because it's so easy for them now. But it's been 10 years. We're going to get that game back and it's going to be awesome. And yeah, we're not going to have a show for the next 2 months and it's going to be great. But yeah, roll tide. Sorry, Jay. Maybe you guys will be better now that Nick Saban retired. That's a glimmer of hope, right?
That was a great day.
Wasn't it like shortly right after like Bill Belichick didn't get a new job either, so they both technically have retired?
Yeah,
so
I think he got fired and Saban retired like back-to-back days or something.
Yeah, it's gonna be really.
Does anyone know what Nick Saban thinks of this movie?
And Harbaugh left too for the NFL, so that helps.
Oh.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah.
Saban's more of a Ridley guy.
Oh,
I think that's right. Actually,
He
loves Exodus.
I think he does. He doesn't like fun.
He
doesn't like fun. Who do you think Who do you think in college football would be the guy that likes something like a Ridley Scott movie? I mean, Tony Scott movies. Tony Scott,
like James Franklin.
Really? He seems so vanilla. He seems very vanilla. I think
he would just park himself in front of TNT. Like I can just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Honestly, Ryan Day.
You got my wheels turning now.
Just like
look up a list of college football coaches.
Like basic dads.
I think like Lincoln Riley, sort of like wild films, but like, there is substance there maybe, but it's a lot of flash. Some people think like it's all flash, it's all explosions, but there's like, but it does produce a lot of talent, right?
I'll tell you who likes Tony Scott movies.
Who, Jay?
Lane Kiffin.
Oh, there it is. I almost thought about Dabo, but that's giving Dabo Sweeney way too much credit.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin Lane Kiffin's the right choice. Lane Kiffin is a wonderful choice. Even though
good.
I hate Lane Kiffin so much. But he's
Dabo
a funny.
Probably likes Adam McKay.
You know who would have really liked Tony Scott?
No, Dabo likes who directed God is for Real or whatever that movie is.
God is for Real?
What's that movie? God's Not Dead? Is that it?
God's Not Dead? Yeah.
That one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know who directed
Dinesh D'Souza.
I was going to say, you know who would have really liked probably Tony Scott was Mike Leach. Would have really liked.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
The Pirate. Yeah. He would have liked All right. Well, we're here to talk about Crimson Tide.
And now that
the
everybody's
movie.
not listening, should we talk about the
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've alienated our audience plenty to start off this. They fast forwarded specifically to this point where now we can start talking about. But Sophia's
We got
here.
to put a timestamp in there, baby.
Yeah, put a timestamp.
We're not putting any timestamp. How dare you both try to tell me what to do? This is what you expect when Sophia is going to be. She literally texted us today. This is going to be the most insane episode that we've done. She's in a very good mood.
Yes.
And so
You can't say why. but
I'm
yeah,
not going
I'm
to
gonna
say
go for
why,
it. Okay,
but
thank you.
like, yeah. But yeah, I was just going to say that. That's all.
Okay.
But she's in a very happy mood. But it's also we're here to talk about a really good movie. But before we get into that, I've got to ask Sophia some questions, which is usual questions I've been asking everybody here, which is Sophia, you signed up, you specifically asked for this one.
Mhm.
And so I got to know your relationship to Tony Scott as a filmmaker, what you like about him, what you don't like about him, maybe movies that you gravitate more towards, blind spots. And then I got to ask you the ultimate question I've been asking everybody on every episode. Who are you going with? Are you going with Ridley? Or are you going with the tone setter, Tony Scott?
Oh my God. Well, I've been thinking a lot about that question in particular, but I'll start with just Tony Scott overall. So I would say that of all of the filmmakers we've gone into so far together on Director Watch, so episodes I've been on,
This is your
Tony's
favorite.
yeah, this Tony Scott more than Sophia Coppola,
PTA.
more than PTA. Yeah, but Tony Scott was actually a filmmaker that I don't return to a lot of his movies frequently. He's not one of my guys, to use your turn of phrase, but I think in my watches recently and in some of my rewatches, I have been really, really enjoying him, specifically his style and tracing his journey as a filmmaker. I loved The Hunger. I just watched that for the first time
Hell yeah.
last week, and I found it so stylish and erotic and cool, very much of the time. But I think, Jay, you talked about it on that first episode about him wanting to be a painter and
Mhm.
thinking of Tony and Ridley as these old school Brits. And you would never, I think about Tony Scott, the guy who made Top Gun and Crimson Tide and all of these movies that you'll talk about on your series, as someone who would want to be a painter. But when you watch The Hunger, you can fully see that. I think you see those early influences. So I'm really curious, I think, what would have happened if he were maybe able to make more movies like that or more interested in films like that, as opposed to, I think, what he's come to be known for, which are these action thrillers, which I do really enjoy his brand of that, like his version of that genre. I really do gravitate towards. Action movies are not typically my thing, which leads me into Crimson Tide. So when I told my dad that I was going to be doing a Crimson Tide pod, and he said, "I'm so proud of you."
Hell yeah, brother. Let's
Yeah.
go. When's he coming on the pod?
He's going to finally listen to a show of ours here. Oh my God.
Which, every oldest daughter always wants to hear from their dad. I laughed so hard.
What was that like hearing that for the first time?
It was, it took 30 years.
Yeah.
And it was very, very funny though, because he's just not used to me talking about movies like this on my show
sounded
or
like-
really any show.
It sounded like he got so pumped at the idea that you're
I
going
know.
to talk about this movie today.
He was like, "Oh my God, my daughter is talking about this movie I introduced her to where there aren't any female characters and women don't even speak. This is great.
Excuse
I love
me."
it."
There's one female character.
She does mouth a line to Denzel.
Yeah.
Some elite
does.
ADR going
Yeah,
on.
elite.
Yeah. Elite. Some
no,
Madam
but-
Web ADR going on.
Yeah, so I think with Crimson Tide, the reason why I asked to come on for this one is this has always had really a special place for me, not just in Tony Scott's filmography, but just in film in general. So this was one that I was actually really resistant to, didn't know much about. And I remember I was home for break from college and my dad was like, I think you will really, really like Crimson Tide. You need to give it a chance. And I just remember reading the
Plot
little like
synopsis.
brief plot synopsis, and I was like, this, ugh, like I don't nuclear submarine, like all of this. I don't care about this, Dad. He's like, no, this aligns perfectly with what you like. It is a taut thriller, the camera work and the score. And I remember him talking about Hackman and Denzel, and he compared it to a play. And I thought that was so interesting. I was like, I don't really believe that. Okay. But I watched it and I was just like fully enraptured by it and really loved it and thought it was just really, really fun too. I think that the dialogue is so funny and amazing and how it takes itself very seriously, but also opts for these very comedic moments too. And I think the camera work is just brilliant. I think of the Scott films that I've watched, the Tony Scott films, this is, I think, his best direction. I just love what he does here with the camera. So yeah, Crimson Tide, again, it's special to me because it, my connection to my dad as well. So Dad, if you're listening, enjoy.
Well, we can't let you move on to Jay.
Oh, and then the
Um,
Ridley
yeah,
Tony.
and
Yes.
then you got to answer the big question.
Well, okay. So this is what's challenging here is that I feel like I'm more inclined to say Tony just right off the bat because I do have just more fun watching his movies, but I can't. I think I just have to say Ridley because he made Alien.
Mm.
And that, like, when you think about, I think Ridley Scott has much higher highs than Tony Scott does for me. Like, I don't think that as much as I love Crimson Tide, and I really loved The Hunger, I don't think he has anything in his filmography that reaches the heights of The Riddler. But he also doesn't have anything like Napoleon or like some of these movies that Ridley made that I
Exodus, Gods
really,
and Kings.
yeah,
Exodus.
can't deal with.
Also doesn't have the counselor, though.
That's true.
We love the
You know
counselor.
what? You know what? I'm not just gonna base this off of one movie. I'm gonna say Tony.
You sure?
Wow.
Yeah,
Sophia,
like
I
the
feel like you're
style.
being influenced by being on the Tony
Yeah,
series.
you don't have to be.
I feel like your
You don't have,
heart
and
is
you haven't
telling
seen
you to go with
everything.
Ridley.
If you
Mm,
want to go with Ridley, you can go with Ridley. It's not. I
I
mean,
just am thinking of like what I've watched recently, and I'm just really into them. But
it's your call.
mm,
This is your
okay,
choice. It's your
okay.
choice.
If I'm thinking about it truly, yeah, I'm waffling. I'll go back. I'll say Ridley. It's Alien for
Wow.
me.
Well, Jay, the streak is broken.
Yeah.
She
Even
is
though
the.
it might have taken some convincing.
It might have taken some convincing, but honestly,
Yeah.
you go with your first gut, and that was her
Mhm.
first answer technically, and then she kind of waffled, and then she
Mhm.
kind of went back because we kind of told her. But she's the first guest to say Ridley Scott.
Which is not what I would have guessed when this series started.
No, I would not have guessed
Really?
that,
Okay.
that we would have taken up to this point for someone to say Ridley Scott. It's fascinating. I get, and everything that you've said is what everyone has already said, which is like
Mhm.
he's got Alien and he's got Blade Runner. You know what I mean? And he's
Mhm.
got like Thelma and Louise, and he's got, some people really love Gladiator,
Yeah.
some people really love Black Hawk Down. The people really like later work like The Martian or Last
Mhm.
Duel or Jay with like
The Counselor.
the Counselor or House of Gucci. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, we opted for the tone setter. We think overall, like it's the thing of like,
Yeah.
I think if you did a grade of all of Ridley's, it's probably like a C plus B minus, right? But like Tony's is probably in the realm of a B plus on average, but the highs of Ridley are so high. I don't
Mhm.
think that Tony ever reaches the level of making one of the greatest movies of all time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I'll
And
lay it
I
out. I'll
did
lay it
just
out
see
this way.
Alien on the big screen, so I think that's also part of
Jay's
it.
actually got probably a
too.
better comparison than I do. So, oh shoot,
Well, I just think I am I lagging?
yeah, you're lagging. You
Just
go
a
ahead.
smidge.
We got through all the football talk, fine, but right when we got to this point.
When we get to the movie.
When we get to the movie and actually talk about it. It's okay. It's happened surprisingly on a lot of these episodes, but it's not.
I'm surprised that I'm the first person to say Ridley. That's
Right?
interesting. Mm-hmm.
J-Dog?
Oh, it's driving me insane.
You okay?
Yes, I am okay.
Okay.
You're back.
I'm going to 3, 2, 1 it, and I'm going to throw it back over to you. Just give me a second. I'll lead you in. 3, 2, 1. Actually, Jay, I think you've got a comparison that's probably going to be better than mine ever was.
Well, yeah, and here are my thoughts on both of them, and I don't even know that we should be, revealing it this early in the series. But Ridley Scott has made more bad movies than good movies, in my opinion, and I don't think Tony Scott has ever made a bad movie.
Ever?
I don't think he's made a bad movie.
Not one bad movie.
Beverly Hills Cop 2, I like. Rampage, which I rewatched and now
Taking
really
a
like.
Pelham 1, 2, 3 does exist, Jay. Like you can't.
It's good.
It's not good.
It's not as good as the OG, but it's good.
It's not good.
Travolta's going for it.
It's not terrible, but it's not
been remade.
But it's.
I agree with
it just
that,
shouldn't have been
but-
remade. It shouldn't exist.
But it's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think I haven't listened to this yet. Do you think Top Gun is good?
I think Top Gun is very good. I have like
Okay.
I
a
prefer
weird
Diesel
kind of thesis on Top Gun about why I think it's really good.
Okay. I think it's like an 80s porno. Like when I read
That's
fair.
That's
That's
kind
kind
of why I think it's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
My thesis with that movie is it's sort of like a Busby Berkeley musical for 80s excess is kind of how I think
It's
of
like
that
the
movie.
perfect vehicle for also the military and of the Reagan era and everything. Yeah, we talked about it a lot.
We did
on that episode, but like, yeah, it's I was more of a Days of Thunder fan than Top Gun, which I was.
Nicole Kidman.
Well, I'm not a fan of her performance in that. That's bad for I love Nicole Kidman. Don't get me wrong, but she's not very good. It was like her first role. It was
Very
like her
curly
first
hair.
role. Very curly hair.
Yeah.
But like, no, I mean, like, there's like 1 or 2 movies that I don't think are particularly great, but I don't think are.
Oh, he's made movies that I don't think
Terrible.
are great.
No. But like,
There's
I guess
Tony Scott movie that I don't sit down and watch, and I'm like, glad I did that. That
well,
was
the
awesome.
good thing about Tony Scott's movies is
Nice to
they're-
have confirmation that dudes absolutely rock.
and the thing about Tony's movies is that at least they're like 2 hours. There's never a 3-hour.
He's got
Just-
one really long movie,
Which
Man
one?
on Fire.
Man on Fire. Yeah. But that movie, we're going to talk about it. That movie rules.
I like
But
that movie too.
but he doesn't have like a wait. Why are we in Egypt? Oh wait, all the money in the world. You know what I mean? Like
Well, no. I mean, here's actually a really interesting comparison between the two.
Forgot about that movie.
Every Ridley Scott director's cut is like an hour longer.
it shouldn't exist. Like there's
Yeah.
only one extended cut that works, and it's Kingdom of Heaven, and even that movie is still kind of boring.
We talked about that when I wrote my Napoleon review. It's like,
Yeah.
what is it with this man and the extended cuts?
Well, it feels like an excuse maker to be like, well, I've got another
Better
hour of this
version's
shit.
coming later.
And it's like that's bullshit. It should work on its own. It's like it's the Lord of the Rings thing. It's like it should work in its theatrical presentation, and then if you wanted to expand it, it can also work that way too. It can be both. It doesn't have to be, well, this thing fucking sucks. And then like the extended
There's
thing.
some bad ones in here.
He said, I'm telling you. What do you think of
Yeah.
what do you think of The Counselor?
I haven't watched. Ooh,
Have you not seen
Rocks the freaking house.
I have seen The Counselor, but it has been
that? A hot
a
minute.
minute.
I would
saw it
love
when it came out, and that's the last time I watched it. And I don't
Watch the
remember
director's cut. The
liking
director's
it.
cut of that one is actually legitimately better.
Yeah. I would love to hear your
And it
thoughts
rocks
on
the freaking house.
Javier Bardem and Cameron
You
Diaz's
know,
performances in that movie. Those are wild
I will.
performances.
Your friend Cormac McCarthy. I will
I love him. We had tea the other
rewatch
day.
this.
Jay, you did not have tea with Cormac McCarthy. He passed away.
Oh God,
We-
that's right.
we-
That wasn't Cormac McCarthy, was it? No, that was my buddy Greg. I can't believe I got those two mixed up.
Truly a terrible bit
but-
that
but
Sophia's
the,
resurrected
the-
literally on this podcast.
But the point I was making about the director's cuts are just to kind of define their sensibilities. Ridley's are all an hour longer. The one kind of significant Tony Scott director's cut is 15 minutes shorter, and that's Revenge. I called it Rampage before. It's Revenge, the Kevin Costner movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of speaks to his sensibility of making it like lean and mean. I was confusing it with the
Rock
monkey
vehicle.
obvious.
I want to see that movie now from Tony Scott. I want to see it. It would be 10 times better too.
But it's just they're going for different stuff. Their
I want to see
sensibilities are
Kevin
different.
Costner in that.
Kevin
I want to see The
Costner
Rock
in
in
that.
Horizon.
Oh yeah, you know what? That would be really good. Can you imagine him with like a little mustache on a horse?
Maybe he'll be in one of the chapters, one of the 4.
He could do that.
He would totally do that. He would totally do it. And then he'd sell like muscle supplements or something in the middle of the third act. He's a weird character, The Rock, now. He's just gone from being like,
So is Kevin Costner.
yeah, but like at least Costner's got like a heart on his sleeve. He's like, I want to
love
make
Look,
Kevin
The Rock.
Costner.
The Rock is doing that Safdie movie. I'm holding out hope.
Do you think that who is it? It's Benny, right?
It is
Or is it Josh?
Josh.
Oh, so the less accomplished Safdie brother.
No, well, he's the like director one.
Oh, okay. So he's like, if we see them, so he's the Joel
Yes, he's the Joel. Yeah.
and
Okay.
Benny's the Ethan.
Well, Benny is the Ethan /
Francis.
character actor.
Yeah, he's
Slash
doing
Princess.
/ Francis. I don't know. He's doing a lot of shit right now.
No, I'm just imagining Frances McDormand in every Benny Safdie role.
Oh,
That's
she
fun.
could have. I would have loved to see her in Licorice Pizza.
She would be really good in a
Really good.
PTA movie.
She really would.
Later
Oh.
one. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that would be. Oh, I would love to see. Oh, that's actually a great pairing. Yeah, she can wear the Birkenstocks on set, and she doesn't have to get out of character. She's already
Ryan,
dressed.
who's your
for it.
when we did our PTA thing? Who is your actor you'd like to see in a PTA movie? I can't remember.
I mean,
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
I think it was Denzel Washington.
I think it was Denzel.
or Olivia Colman.
I said Jamie Foxx. I want to see
What did I
Jamie
say
Foxx.
for
in
Is
my-
Jamie Foxx going to be still not? I mean, is he going to be canceled by the time that would happen?
I don't know. What is he involved in? Like Diddy stuff? I don't know.
I don't know. No, we're not doing that today.
No, I mean, I'm genuinely
like-
asking. I don't know. Are there?
No, I just feel like there's
always.
always like I know. I just feel like he's always like pushing an envelope with his like saying stuff out there. I don't know. He's always into stuff.
I feel like I
Um,
said Adam Driver.
You said that?
I've said that on a podcast before about
I mean,
who
the
want
chalk
to work
answer
with
is what we're
today.
getting, which is Leo. That is the chalk answer. But yeah, Driver would be really good. McDormand would be really good.
Josh
uh,
O'Connor.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about O'Connor yet. I don't
He has a
know.
weird face. PTA
He
likes
does. He
weird
does like weird
faces.
faces.
Mhm.
So Barry Keoghan would totally work too.
You know, I think would be good as Gosling. I think he'd be good.
I think he would be too. Put it in a '70s movie. Yeah,
I think he's got the good vibes.
yeah. They would have a good time, right?
Mhm.
Gosling's good with
He
anybody.
just needs to stop getting filler. It's a conversation for another time.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, let's talk about Crimson Tide. Let's talk about this movie. In relation to Tony Scott's career, Jay, I know you're reading the book.
Yeah.
I know that I think this is a big movie to
Mhm.
talk about. I think that this is, I mean, I know that we all, Jay, that you and I, we've talked about it throughout the series. And obviously, like, culturally speaking, Top Gun is the movie of this series, right?
I would
But-
say so.
But the reason you and I want to do, and also Sophia picked this, is because for us, this is one of the movies of the series. This is a big movie.
Yeah. I mean,
This
look,
is the
right,
start of
every
him
movie
working.
of this series is the movie.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But this is the first time that he works with his most regular actor, and that's Denzel Washington. This is their first experience working together. So, Jay, floor is yours. You want to talk about like whatever
Making
you're
up
ready to-
behind the scenes.
behind the scenes, making of all that
Behind
stuff.
the
But also, I mean, Jay, I know the cards are already out on the table, buddy. This is an all timer. This is a banger.
Yeah, this is an absolute banger. And I mean, if you're talking about sort of where it sits in his career, I think the most important thing about this movie is he's going back to Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer. He's going back into their court. Big year for them, Bad Boys and this film. And you know what was surprising to me? This movie like doubled the gross of Bad Boys. This was a darn tootin' big old hit.
Not to go on another side tangent. What do you guys think of the Bad Boys movies?
Well, I've only seen the first one actually,
Me
and
too.
I only saw it for the first time a couple days ago. It's not very good.
I watched the first three because I was going to go to the press screening for the fourth one, and I did not. So I'll have to watch it another time.
Is it because of the slap?
It was because of the slap, to be honest with you. But yeah, I was just like, I was afraid if I sat in a 4D seat, it was going to slap me in the face. But I watched the first one. I didn't really like it. It felt more like a Martin Lawrence vehicle rather than like a duo.
Bad Boys 1, you're talking about?
Yeah, Bad Boys 1.
Oh, yeah. It was really weird seeing Will Smith play second fiddle.
Yeah, he was very second fiddle. And then the second one, which is, I can't wait for Jay to watch Bad Boys 2 because it is the most
based on its reputation. Yeah.
Over excessive, wild action movie, total mayhem at its finest. And I thought it rocked the house. I thought it was so overindulgent.
That feels like something I could be into.
That I was just like, and just kind of gross. And I'm like, yeah, I really dug this. And that's kind of what like I felt like the whole thing should have been. And then I thought the third one was just a complete. It became then the opposite of the first one, where it's more of a Will Smith vehicle, and Martin Lawrence is secondary. And I don't think that works. It's got to work with the both of them. That would be like if making Lethal Weapon and you didn't make it about the two of them, you just made it about either Danny Glover or you just made it about Mel Gibson in those movies. And that's what those movies are really great, the Lethal Weapon movies. And this is kind of like a ripoff of those. Two, even though it's completely over stylized and probably offensive to many people, it's the best of the versions. And I haven't seen 4, and it seems like it's just recycled shit from the third one, to be honest with you, based off of what everyone said. So Sophia, you're gonna crack open the Bad Boys series?
I need to finish up this Tony Scott binge that I'm doing first, and then I will venture to Bad Boys territory. But I've seen the first one, but the second one sounds like I need to watch it or prioritize it.
I feel like, to be honest, Jay, I think you will love Bad Boys 2. And Sophia, I think you will fucking hate that movie.
Okay.
Yeah. But
sounds about right.
But I still kind of want you to see it just because it is a fascinating movie to talk about. But Jay, you did tweet something the other night, or maybe it was on your Letterboxd page about like you watched Bad Boys and it was a bad thing for it because we're in the middle of this series, right?
Yeah, it really hurt it, like genuinely. It was like, man, Tony Scott would do this so much better.
He would.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would. But anyway, back to your discovery behind the scenes for this movie.
Yeah. So he's back with Simpson and Bruckheimer, and Don Simpson, in the same way that he was like, ooh, I like when planes go fast. Let's make a plane movie. He watched like something on cable that was like mysteries of the submarines, and he's like, let's make a submarine movie. That's cool. He's like a little kid playing in the bathtub.
I love the way that
love
these
to make a
movies
submarine movie
are getting made, just like
while doing lines of cocaine off the side of the tub.
Oh my god.
And they didn't. He's like, let's do it. And Tony Scott, you know, the kind of shocking thing about his career in hindsight is that True Romance was his one true like massive bomb of the 90s. And so he needed a hit. And if there's one thing Tony Scott does, it's make movies on schedule and on budget. And they were like, this would be a perfect guy to make this movie. So they approach him, and they just get kind of this pretty standard script by a guy who was sort of just a journeyman. His calling card at this point was that movie Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman, a guy by the name of Michael Schiffer. And they get the script and they're like, oh, you know, this is pretty good. We can probably work with this. There's a couple guys we might want to give this to do a little touch up. Robert Towne and Quentin Tarantino. We'd like you to take maybe a little
Come on
stab at this
down.
one. And so they do that. Robert Towne is responsible for maybe the best scene in the movie where they're eating and talking about like the nature of war, where it's like in the nuclear world, the true enemy is war itself. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. This movie,
of course, that's Robert
awesome.
Towne.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's Tarantino?
Oh my God. I mean, the early Tarantino stuff is just like so obvious, where it's like, I'm Captain Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Star Trek stuff is very Tarantino. All the pop culture stuff.
Is he Silver Surfer too?
Yeah, Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
He's writing Denzel's all of Denzel's lines because he's the epitome of writing for black actors.
Well, it's funny that you say that because Denzel, I assume his relationship.
This has changed actually. It's changed.
Spike Lee was but at the time, I'm sure him speaking with Spike Lee, they hated early Tarantino's relationship to the African American experience.
Yeah, they did not like the N-word in his.
And Denzel confronted him just on set. Was like, "Yo, you suck. You're awful." And Tarantino was like, "Hey man, come on, can we go in private and talk somewhere?" And Denzel's like, "No, we're doing this right here, right now,
in front of everyone.
I hate you." And then Tarantino was very embarrassed. And then
I think it was like
eventually
20
buried that. They buried the hatchet.
20 years later, they were at a thing, and
I don't even think it was that long, but it was.
It was
They've
and Denzel
mended those fences.
Denzel in a Tarantino movie though would be pretty.
That would be awesome. It would
that might break the box office. Actually.
But let's talk potential casting. One of my favorite things to talk about.
Oh my God, this is one of my favorite things. This is always good when Jay does this. All right, Jay, what do you got?
Ryan, do you know these?
I don't know these actually. This was the one thing I didn't look up. I'm going to look it up right now.
So the first choice for Ramsey, the Hackman character, any idea who that could have been?
Jack Nicholson.
I got one.
Oh.
Who you got, Sophia?
Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty, choice number 1.
Holy shit. I would have watched the hell out of that movie. Oh my God.
Warren Beatty passed. Their second choice, Al Pacino.
No. Can you imagine?
I got the con. Stand down, Mr. Hunter.
I love how Hackman says hunky dory and yeehaw in this movie. Imagine Pacino saying
yeehaw, hoo-ah.
Yeah, this is Scent of a Woman, Pacino.
This is Devil's Advocate straight up. Pacino at this time. No, that would not have been good.
Same year as Heat though. So we could have had both of these.
I mean, he's so good and he's so good in Heat.
You got your head all the way in there. Yeah.
And as for Hunter, who's actually not even the first choice for Hunter? Who is like on his knees begging to play Hunter?
Oh man.
Former Tony Scott collaborator.
Tom Cruise.
No.
Cruise? No.
Bit player in True Romance.
Oh, no, not old. Brad Pitt?
Bradley Pitt.
Yeah.
Comes to Tony Scott begging and pleading, let me play this role. And they're originally, they're kind of into it, but when Beatty and Pacino turn him down, they're like, let's reorient this. We're totally resetting. Let's go back to square one and figure this out. And from then it was pretty straightforwardly,
Denzel Washington and Hackman.
Denzel and Hackman. Although they did consider the other guy who really wanted to play Hunter. Actually, I forgot about this. Tony Scott, the guy who just like is desperate to be in any Tony Scott movie, Val Kilmer, was like, please let me be in this movie. Tony Scott, I love you so much. Let me be in your movie. And
he would have been good in the Vigo role.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I could see him in another role, probably the Vigo one, but not that
Andy
one.
Garcia also briefly considered. I think that would have been bad. But I like Andy Garcia, but not sure he's right for this.
No, he's not good for this. I love Andy, but no.
So Simpson and Bruckheimer were like, okay, Denzel is
great
the guy
for book club though.
When they
I was just gonna say that's how I think of him always now. Book club.
I think of him always as I always think of him as Terry Benedict. He will always be Terry Benedict to me from the Ocean's films. But anyway, sorry, Jay.
Yeah, so he was considered briefly. Simpson and Bruckheimer eventually come to this epiphany that they're like, Denzel's the guy. Like he's the one we got to
He's
have.
the one of the greatest actors of all time. Why the hell
Mhm.
wouldn't we want him in this role?
And so then it just becomes, we're going to get this Hollywood legend, Hackman, new hotshot, Denzel. And they're like, look, we did Top Gun. We have this great relationship with the Navy. This is going to be easy. Navy reads the script. They're like,
No.
this is a little touchy. This is a little murky. We're getting in some murky waters here. I'm not sure we want to be dealing with a mutiny on a nuclear submarine.
Murky waters. Good
And
job,
so
Jay.
they basically do not participate in the film whatsoever. However, if you recall, there is an exterior shot of a submarine.
Yes.
So how did they get that shot? You might be asking yourself.
Well, I'm sure you're going to tell us, Jay.
Indeed. So they go to Hawaii, and they basically are like on the lookout for this nuclear submarine. Or like a submarine. They're like, there's subs coming out all the time in Hawaii. We're going to have a helicopter ready. We're going to have boats ready. And we're going to guerrilla style film this submarine. And so they see a submarine coming out. They bring the helicopter out. They bring the boats out. The submarine is like, you got to get out of here. You're not allowed to do this. And they're like, we're in international waters, baby. You can't do anything. And they get to film it. This is the coolest thing ever. He's the coolest guy.
This is the best. This is
That is
this
so
is why we
cool.
do. This is why we're doing this series.
Yeah.
Dude, here's this shit. It's great. Keep going, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best, and outside of that, this movie looks absolutely fantastic.
Oh.
Darius Wolski, I believe, is the one that shot
Yes,
this
sir.
film.
Mhm.
And he said Tony was just like the greatest ever. He said there's like no ego. He can be tough to work with sometimes, but it's all like considering the best shot possible. It's like there's nothing to it except what would look best on screen. Yeah, Tony just seems like a really cool guy. Oh, the one other fun little fact about this. So around this time, I believe studios banned smoking on sets. Tony Scott, cigar fiend, absolute hound. And he's like, I'm not exaggerating. If you don't let me smoke, I'm not doing this movie. And so
He's like the Michael Jordan of directors at this
Yeah.
time. Like Jordan.
they
also-
hired an extra fire marshal to follow him around at all times around the set just to make sure he wasn't doing anything dangerous.
Well, they're also. I mean, Hackman's smoking in the movie all the time.
They are smoking so much on this sub.
This is
Yeah.
wild. When I was watching, and it's like, just Ramsey smoking there like every
Mhm.
other scene, and I'm like, you can't do this on a submarine. But this is
Yeah.
why. But it's still freaking great. Anyway,
Yeah, but I mean, by all accounts, it was an easy shoot. There's the story that Wolski talks about on the last day of shooting, where they're doing the scene where they are on top of the sub with the cigar, and they wrap up, and Wolski, like, he's like, Tony Scott is like super anxious, and Wolski's so confused. He's like, "What's wrong, man?" And he's like, "It's not supposed to be this easy. Like, is this it? Like, really, we made a movie?" And that rocks. And you know what else rocks? This movie. This movie rocks so hard. It is so good. It is absolute top tier Tony Scott, if not the best Tony Scott movie. And to me, this really is like the start of the Tony Scott that I think people think of when they think about Tony Scott
yes.
in a certain way. Top Gun was sort of like, if you consider Tony Scott like an auteur, like important filmmaker, I think this is kind of where that version of him kind of starts. He had made like some junky stuff, and then True Romance was sort of like this weird anomaly that I think is great, but is a lot different than what you think of when you think about Tony. This is like incredible cast, discovering these actors that you'll see for years and years and years to come. So much more thoughtful than it needs to be, so much more visually inventive than it needs to be. My takeaway on this watch was just that nobody has a better feel for when to detach from reality aesthetically and when to keep it really viscerally real than Tony Scott. Because some of the rooms in this sub, they look like laser tag, and it's perfect. It all is just like so visually engaging. I think it's philosophically engaging. I think it's a really thoughtful movie. That scene that I talked about that Robert Towne wrote about kind of the very nature of war is really incredible to me. And it's not just a story of this back and forth between of strategy. It's a back and forth of ideology. And that is the through line throughout the entire movie. I just love this movie. It's two of my favorite actors of all time. These are probably two of my 10 favorite actors in history, Hackman and Denzel. So I just love this movie to death. It's so good.
Yeah. I think this movie rules. It rules because of everything both of you guys have said. Sophia, I mean, like, I love that you read a tagline and you're like, I don't want to really watch this movie. And then your dad's like, this is why you always should really, for the most time, 9 times out of 10, trust your dads out there. They're gonna have a movie
Steer
that's
you
probably
in the right direction.
They're gonna have a movie that's gonna be like, at the end of it, you're like, God, that's a banger. Oh, this rules. Good vibes. Dads don't waste their time at the theaters. They find something, they like it, they're gonna watch it over and over again. And to everything you said, Jay, all the behind the scenes stuff, everything, it's great. I think what elevates this to being, I'm gonna put my cards on the table, my favorite Tony Scott movie is,
I think this movie's a masterpiece. Like, I'll say, I think this movie is a masterpiece.
I think this is his best film. And I think it's because, like, unintentionally,
1 or 2 for me. I can't decide yet.
Unintentionally or not, this movie is extremely entertaining and low-key subversive in a lot of what it's trying to do and say. I find this to be a really interesting film, not just about power dynamics, but about racial dynamics. The casting of Hackman and Denzel Washington in this movie completely changed Ramsey and Hunter's perspectives if you just have had 2 white guys doing this. Mm-hmm. And especially concerning the fact of the type of people that they are. Hackman is this renowned person that is well respected in this movie. He is the captain of the ship. He runs a tight, ship. Everything's by the book, for the most part. But then it's also about his intuition.
But he's also difficult.
He's difficult.
Like hothead.
The actor Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
And so you go by the way he goes and you don't question him. But it's resulted in all these accolades and everything by the Navy, right? And then you have Denzel Washington, Hunter, who is fresh, new, coming onto this. He's very green when it comes to all these matters, and he's going by the rules and regulations that the Navies have set. He's very by the book, and he's less instinctive rather than he's playing more defense than offense, right? We've already kind of
he's very considered.
That. He's very considered, very
closest
conservative.
He's ever been to war is a policy meeting or whatever.
Yeah,
says.
And you have to think about it not just from inexperience versus experience, but about in which a mostly white system in this country would let someone like Hackman probably get away with 30 to 40 years of a really tight ship, run it by your way, gung-ho sort of, but as long as it gets the job done, we'll allow it. And he is not that person. Hunter is not that kind of person. Never can be. And there's always, when you see the other characters and how they look at him, how they think of him, how he is represented, it's not just your basic, this is a fresh guy out of the academy. They know that because he doesn't look like one of them as an officer, that he is not potentially going to align with the shenanigans that they normally are able to get away with. And that's where I think also the tension of this movie goes even further than what is already in there. And it may be intentional or not. But when you do cast these two at their ages with their races, and you have the other officers look the way they do from those actors, it's hard not to look at it. That being said, while that's a fascinating angle of this movie is extremely well directed at every turn. It is as tight of a thriller as you could possibly make it. And he squeezes every ounce of charisma out of two of the greatest actors to ever do it, period. I watch this, I go, Jesus Christ, I love Denzel Washington. And then about 5 seconds later, I go, is Gene Hackman maybe my favorite actor of all time? Because
Gene
I'm
Hackman
like,
rocks
because
so hard.
So
he's
fun
so
in this.
good. And this is post Unforgiven. He's won his second Oscar. He is in full on, I am making entertaining films, but adding an elevated performance. Like, you know, I think of a movie like this, or I think of like a movie like Runaway Jury, a John Grisham novel, just kind of throw it away. But if you watch that, those are scenes with him and Rachel Weisz, or scenes with him and John Cusack, or scenes with him and Dustin Hoffman. And you're like, oh, that's right. Gene Hackman just elevates everybody around him. And it's crazy how he elevates what we consider the great modern, or one of the great modern movie stars of our time in Denzel Washington, who by this point had already made Mo Better Blues and worked with Spike and had Oscar nominations and already did Malcolm X.
He won an Oscar. Yeah.
Yeah, he won for Glory. So he had already had his own, you know, and he's obviously very renowned on stage, one of our great Shakespearean actors of all time. And so this is the kind of the great moment where both of them meet in their career, and this is lightning in a bottle. And what they decide to do is make this very melding of the minds, melding of how each one of them see the world and policy, and it really is really relevant of a movie too. And the ending of this movie is 10 out of 10. Put Jason Robards in the end of any movie.
Yeah, when Jason Robards comes up as like a pinch hitter,
and you're just like, oh, they knew what they're doing.
It's like bringing Babe Ruth out in the ninth inning. He hasn't played all game.
Simpson and Bruckheimer, going back to Scott, it's the ultimate right move. This movie's a masterpiece. It's kind of astonishing that you know that they got to make this, and it sounds like
barely an action movie.
It's barely an action movie,
barely.
but it makes more money than something like Bad Boys at the time, which is clearly an action movie, and it's like, but it has all the tension, and every time I watch it, I'm on the edge of my seat because that's a testament to Scott in the way he directs this. This is a well-oiled machine that they're shooting on a well-oiled machine. So yeah, it's really rules.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, well, when you talk about like, that was again, the reason why my dad told me I would like it. And he told me like, this is not your classic action movie. It's not big, dumb fun, is because of that tension that you feel. Like I noticed when I was watching it this time, I actually watched it twice ahead of this because I just wanted to basically start it over as soon as I had watched it.
Just our greatest guest.
I noticed that my posture was so bad sitting on the couch because I had fully leaned forward to watch this and didn't even realize that I was like gripping like one of my hands with the other and was just like leaning forward and didn't even realize I was doing it because I was so anxious during scenes that I had seen 10 times before. And that I think that's a mark of really great direction. And also, Ryan, you talking about the racial component of it. The really cool thing here is that also acts as this layer on top of how each character views systems and education specifically.
Yep.
And one of the really cool things that he does here, it's a really neat visual parallel between these two actors. And it's so the first time, so when Gene Hackman when he scoffs at Hunter when he mentions Harvard, and we get that sort of like, oh, you're educated in a particular type of way. Yeah. That doesn't mean you know more than me or my prior XO who was the best thing. And then later, Hunter, Denzel replicates that look almost. It looks like he's kind of playing off of Hackman when Hackman is doing his big Roll Tide, USS Alabama, Crimson Tide, that whole thing. When he's going off like that, you see this little twitch in Denzel's face where he's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like this patriotism.
Yeah.
It's a different type of like, I
state
view this
school
differently.
sort of education.
You kind of feel like there's this kind of like push-pull between them, that they have these very different ideologies and they're reacting subtly or not to each other in how they perform.
Well,
which I think is really cool.
but that also it speaks to it again. It speaks to race. It speaks to class. It speaks
Hmm.
to experience. It speaks to generational language and how also too someone with a fresh perspective that you're talking about that opening scene where they're getting to know one another. And what's so interesting, like when you get to the Robart scene and how they talked, and what how he describes their disagreements is what he says, right? How they couldn't come eye to eye. It's from the initial meeting you are clearly understanding that these two men are from two vastly different worlds, and if there is a problem that does happen here, something will shatter chain of command because that's just how they're fundamentally both built.
Oh, you know what's the best line maybe in the movie is when he's like, "We're here to uphold democracy, not practice it."
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
so good. I mean,
I wrote that one down.
the
It's so
crazy the
good.
crazy thing about this movie is it is on paper just like this dumb action thriller, but there are like 20 lines in this movie that I can just say off the top of my head right now because I think it's just so well written. It's so sharp
Hmm.
between the Tarantino of it all and the Robert Town adding sort of this headiness to it. I just think it's remarkable, and I mean they make the racial dynamics very overt when they're talking about the horses
Yeah.
Hmm.
towards the end of the film, and then I do kind of like that the movie ends with him going back to that clearly targeted monologue that he has, where he's sort of like, you know what, you were right. They actually are from Spain. They're not from Portugal.
I love
I
that
love it.
because even still, you think, right, like there might be a chance that he's like, yeah, you were right about all of this, right? Everything else. But he would never do that. That's not right for the
Yeah,
character. It's he's playing it up as this cheeky moment and introducing horses even earlier when he mentions Arabians. It's like this thread that goes through that is, I think, very, yeah, very overt. But
Hmm.
I think the payoff is great in a very 90s way that just works for me even still.
But then also I mean, he doesn't need to say that he was even wrong or right because he's he's the one giving a glowing recommendation that he
Hmm.
has his own ship
Yeah.
and that
there is no right or wrong. Robards is just basically like, you children,
no, but he
what
Yeah.
doesn't
are
need,
you doing?
no, he doesn't need to say it, and for the audience he doesn't need to say it too because when Hackman reads the paper and he just says Mr. Hunter has the con, you know, he literally his silence walking away and the shot of Hackman walking down the hall, there's enough said there. It's brilliant. There's no
So good.
fight whatsoever.
Hmm.
And but that's an old man acknowledging that he made a mistake but not saying it. And when Denzel walks into the hearing, he's like, I don't get a chance. He almost is like, I don't get a chance to defend myself. And Robarts is like, just shut up and listen because you need to learn a lesson. We're all learning a lesson
I don't
here.
even know that there's a lesson learned. He's just sort of like,
No, I mean he
you're
does.
you're all going to be fine, but God, this was annoying.
Yeah, now that's what it is. It's like this could have been handled better from the two of you if you would have just got along and not worry about making it personal. These two made it personal. They made it about themselves rather than what was best, what was right. And that's they were both right and both wrong.
Yeah,
But then Robarts is like, if you just shut up, you'll know that you're getting what you want and he's getting what he wants, which is this early retirement. And everyone's going to kind of walk away from this other than the fact that you both clearly embarrassed the shit out of all of us rather than like, I don't know. And you're going to have to live with that. That's the lesson is you're going to have to live with the actions that happened on this vessel, you
Don't
know?
we love when Robards just comes in and is very annoyed with two men standing in front of him? It's
love
just like in
Robards.
All the
I just
President's
love
Men
Robards
when
so
he's like,
much.
you're probably pretty tired. It's like that
Yeah.
whole he's
Oh, and
so
all the president's men?
yeah, uh-huh. How he's so perfect in those moments. I think
Like,
he's like, yeah,
where's
such
your
a
source? We don't have one.
clutch
Well, go get lucky. Yeah. Or whatever.
supporting actor always. And it's funny because I mean he and Denzel are arguably our greatest dramatic stage actors, like maybe ever. They both have done Iceman Cometh, which is a mammoth production, and they're just these titans of the theater, and seeing them in the same movie is, I mean, on another level, just like seeing Hackman and Denzel work off of each other. But seeing there was something that made me a little misty-eyed seeing Robards and Denzel.
Super generational, just like,
Hmm.
but also again, like you're saying, it's the intersect between like Denzel's career because he's super versatile as an actor to be on stage and screen and be the best at both. And
Hmm.
Hackman is such a screen presence, and Robarts, well, he is a screen presence. He is very much known in the New York
I think he's
dramatic
the
scene.
most Tony
Tony
nominations for a
Nations,
dramatic actor still.
yeah. And so,
Someone can fact check
Man,
me.
his
um,
movie career is no joke.
and there's
I mean,
he's
No,
no joke. I mean, he's got
he has
two
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 Oscars.
Oscars. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So, but like, yeah, Jay, this goes back to what we were talking about. This is like a kind of a pass. It weirdly feels like it doesn't feel like a crossing, like a torch passing film, but it kind of feels like that in some way. Like, because while Denzel is a great actor here, he's not. Would you guys have say he is a mega star at this point of his career in '95? Like, he's not that yet,
no,
right?
he was at that point where he would be in Philadelphia and be the
Hmm.
guy kind of overlooked. That's where he was at his career. He wasn't as big as
Yeah.
Tom Hanks.
Right. He was at a pretty cool like turning point, I think, in his career. What was coming up? Like he had already done Malcolm X, he'd just done Philadelphia.
You done Much Ado
Um,
About Nothing,
Much
and
Ado, yeah. So I
Pelican
think
Brief.
a lot of the good stuff really is around the corner, and I think a big part of that is that this is the start of his relationship with Tony Scott, like you were talking about, one of his greatest collaborators. But Denzel in this movie, oh my God. We can spend some time on Denzel.
Or
I
you
feel
want to
like
talk about him? Yeah.
yeah, of course I want to talk about him. But I feel like here what's so great about him is I love when I think we can think of Denzel in many different modes really across his filmography because he has such a great one, but I love when he is very, I think here, reserved and he's kind of the
Oh
cool
yeah,
one.
subdued
There's
Zendel.
something, yeah,
Denzel.
there's something so intriguing about that and that just makes you glued to him, and that was when you also realize he's a movie star, and when he has those moments where he's delivering those speeches or he's talking to different characters in the film, you're like, this is why he is the charismatic presence that he is. And he also, I think it's so well, it's what's so great about the movie is that he and Hackman are so good at like leaning into different like facets. So other things, like things we haven't seen them do maybe before in the same way here, and play off of each other really well. So yeah, I love them both. But Denzel here, this is maybe my favorite type of Denzel
He's super.
performance.
He's confident, but he's vulnerable.
Hmm.
Like, this is
You
kind of like,
understand why people would want to follow him.
yeah, but you
Yes.
also understand why Hackman wants to beat the ever living shit out of him. Like,
It's like the thorn in his side. Yeah.
exactly like, and
Hmm.
Because
he's
he's competent and intelligent and
yes.
Hmm.
Well, he
doesn't have to flaunt it.
The new
yeah.
guard. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
does exactly, Jay. That's the best way to say it. He doesn't have to flaunt it. You just know that he is based off the way he dresses, the way he looks, the way he presents himself, the way he talks, but also just the honesty that comes out of him is it's all there. He's more of an open book because he kind of has to be. He can't hide. He can't pull an ace up his sleeve. He can't improvise. He has to go by what is kind of in front of him. And that's what makes Hunter a really interesting character, is because Denzel plays that, but also there is extreme vulnerability in that. Like, he has a film out the same year in 1995, Devil in a Blue Dress, where he is very much
Great film.
which he is. It's these two performances really mirror, I think, each other. There's a sense of, in that movie, I think too, Denzel's vulnerability that really shines. But yeah, I think like it's really the Denzel Washington we know is like in command, the presence, the sure confidence guy. That's 2000, 2001 when he does Remember the Titans and Training Day back to back. That is the modern day
No,
template
there's
for
more
what
than he got game.
he's got. No, he's got He's got
You
it.
can see a little bit of Remember the Titans here. I
Yes,
did
you can.
find
The
little
way he
traces of that.
enunciates words.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But it's like no, but I'm saying it's like Jay, he goes back and forth a lot more in the 90s. By the 2000s,
Sure.
he's clearly more in
He's going full Denzel.
he's going full Denzel, which is great. I'll take full
It's-
Denzel every
It's
single.
the best.
You know what I watched recently? Speaking of full Denzel,
Virtuosity.
no, I watched his franchise.
You Equalized?
I Equalized,
I need to watch those.
I do
dude.
too.
Those movies, which the first one and the third one are on Netflix. The second one's on Hulu as of right now. Those movies are wild. They make absolutely no damn sense, but they also feel as if, weirdly enough, the reason why he wanted to make Equalizer movies and has with Anton Fuqua is I think he kind of misses the itch that he got in making movies like this with Tony Scott, in that he got to make these action movies alongside his Oscar-y dramas, and Tony passed, and then he's making, well, what do you want to do, Anton? Well, I would like to make Magnificent Seven remake.
Yeah.
I guess. All right. Would you want to equalize 3 times? And like the first Equalizer, it's fun. It's a lot of gory action. Second one, Pedro Pascal, bad guy, right? But also not the guy. Third one, absolutely stupid. But like, you
Go
know,
to Phoenix in it. Man on Fire reunion.
very much a man. Okay, gotta tell you, because Sophia made me watch Madam. Well, she didn't make me watch it, but she got me really curious about watching Madam Web.
I got to watch that.
I watched
Yes,
it.
you do.
Not that bad.
I don't believe you.
It's
It's
bad, but
it's
very
bad, but it's
watchable. It's
it's a fun experience. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't go Cats level.
Memorably bad.
Yeah, like if you, it's perfect for where it's on right now, Netflix. Like, put it on the background, folding laundry. You're watching it. Don't really have to, think too hard on
I got to get into the lore. I got to really pay attention to it.
Well, did you watch Venom?
I have seen both Venoms.
Did you see Morbin Time? Morbius?
I never met Dr. Michael Morbius.
Yeah, it's all in the same universe.
Yeah.
You guys excited for the new Venom?
I haven't seen any of the Venom movies
What?
yet, so I told you this. I thought,
No.
yeah, I haven't seen them.
They're so stupid,
So-
but you're gonna
Oh.
you would love them.
My comic book movie
I know.
watching is really all over the place. Like, I've seen Madam Web, but I haven't seen half of the Marvel movies.
That's fine.
Mm.
Yeah.
I actually would prefer more Madam Webs than
You got to get in on
Morbius.
Ant-Man Quantumania.
See, I would
Yeah.
rather have Madam Web than Quantumania ever again.
You know what Denzel was so good in? The Tragedy of Macbeth.
So
Not to
good.
take
I like
a
how
full-
Sophia's
I
getting
gave him
back to
my
serious.
I gave him
Into
my
my-
actor that year.
Yeah, he was. Oh my god!
Yeah.
I had never thought about that character in that way before. As
Probably my runner-up.
person filled with such sadness and despair, and just
Mhm.
that the idea of Macbeth as this aging man. I feel like Denzel
That was
understood
a
a
right choice.
character that's existed for hundreds of years in a way that other people haven't before. And that's like the degree of difficulty on that is crazy. And I feel like here it's like he has again traces of that too, that kind of like, okay, I am like more of that kind of like cerebral quality to him where you're like kind of you're seeing the wheels turn, but he's doing something more. He's not being obvious or showy. I also want to talk about the training montage, not to fully pivot from Macbeth to him.
Oh, are you
working out,
talking about
but
when he takes a minute to relax during a
Mhm.
potential nuclear holocaust to go do some boxing training in the basement of the submarine?
it's perfect. I'm so glad that this is included in this movie. Him wearing his tank top and dog tags,
Looking
while jumping
just
rope.
incredible.
And yeah, it's a sight to see, really.
He is punching that heavy bag.
Yeah.
He's punching it good. Doing some pull-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
It's
I was-
really
Yeah.
it's a wild scene.
yeah.
But
He was
I
your
mean-
runner. He was your winner that year, Jay.
I remember that very specifically because not many people held that opinion, I don't think.
Yeah, he was in my. He would be in my 5.
Well, that's
now.
that's a character who's been interpreted by several actors at this point. So for
Yeah.
him to bring something unique is
Yeah.
He wasn't
Yeah.
my. He wasn't my.
Cool thing to do.
He wasn't that my winner that year, but he'd still be.
Oh, Sophia, we were having this conversation. In a
Uh-huh.
custody battle, which director gets to claim Denzel?
Oh, that's easy.
Is it Spike? Is it Tony? Is it Antoine Fuqua?
It definitely isn't Antoine Fuqua. I can tell you.
He
that.
might be. Has he worked with him more than anybody else?
Spike's worked with
I
him
would
probably
say-
now. He just made a new Spike.
I would say Spike.
They
I think the
just
answer's
But that's also
probably
my
Spike, but they
taste,
didn't
I
work
think.
together for so
They
long.
didn't, but like Denzel and Malcolm X, I think that's his, for me,
Malcolm
that's
X.
Denzel's
Personally, I think the answer
defining
might be Tony.
role.
Tony might-
Um,
He got game.
yeah.
Mo Better
I
Blues.
just want, I want
Inside
to see
Man.
high and low.
High and Low
That's-
now.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Love it when Spike's got a great track record of adapting Asian cinema.
Don't do
Oh,
that.
don't,
Don't do
no.
that.
I'm choosing to think positively about this.
Damn you. Damn you to hell for reminding me of that.
Mhm. Wow.
You know who might claim Denzel actually in the Denzel custody battle?
Oh, we got a fourth.
Denzel Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's
doesn't count.
directed himself a bunch
That doesn't
of
count because that's how he gets his movies made. He's like,
I know, I'm just kidding.
I'll be in it, but you got to let me direct.
Yeah. Does Ridley get a claim now?
I
He's
just
working with
want this
Gladiator 2 and
Denzel
the
PTA
American
movie.
Gangster.
Yeah. Nah.
Nah, no.
No.
I
I still
see.
say Spike.
I
yeah.
think I think Spike.
So how many Spikes has he been in?
5. He'll be in 5.
This will be his fifth.
It will be his 5th.
How many Tonys was he in?
Well, that's a good question. Jay, let me ask that while you guys are.
Because by the end, he was like in every Tony.
1, 2,
At least 5.
3, 4,
Yeah. I'm looking.
4, 5.
5?
5.
5 to 5?
5 to 5. Yeah.
He was in Crimson Tide, Man on Fire, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, Unstoppable, and
Deja Vu.
Deja
Deja
Vu.
Vu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So it's a.
I guess if
even
if it's 5 to 5, you got to give it to the one that has Malcolm X in it, right?
Yeah, because that's got his
guess
greatest.
that's what you have
It's
to
got
do.
his greatest performance in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spike,
his great-
congratulations. You get Denzel.
Do you all agree though that that's his best performance, right, Malcolm X?
That's mine for him for sure.
That's very hard to argue. I mean, that's a titanic performance.
It's all on his shoulders.
I love him in He Got Game, though.
I love him in that too. I love it. I mean, what don't I love?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Him
mean
all the
that
time,
is true.
really. Like,
He carries Remember the Titans on his back
mhm.
so effortlessly.
If he's not in Training Day, that movie is unwatchable.
Oh,
Like
yeah. Oh my
that
God.
movie, Antoine Fuqua wouldn't have a career without Denzel Washington. So I guess that's
Or
that's the point.
what's his name?
Who?
The beekeeper guy,
Oh God,
the
What do you-
screenwriter of Training Day,
Oh,
David Ayer.
David Ayer.
There you
David
go.
Ayer.
The
We
fact
might
that I
never
could
have
pull that
gotten-
out.
Right.
No,
I love him in Inside Man.
Oh, Inside Man's great. Him and Clive Owen.
Mm-hmm.
Clive Owen, very important person.
Clive Owen and Closer, very important
very
person.
important person. But yeah, no, I'm just looking at his career. It's just like the '90s first half of his, like the '90s Denzel, better movies. But the vibes of 2000s on, gotta love it. Gotta love a guy
Yeah.
that's just like, yeah, I won my second Oscar, and they gave it to me the night that Sidney Poitier got his honorary, and I can pretty much do whatever the hell I want after this. And I
That
got
might be something I should do, is just watch every Denzel movie.
I don't think you'd have a bad time
No, I might
I
all
think it'd
just
be
do that.
fun.
till you get
It's
to like
sad though that his son has 0 of his charisma.
that's all okay.
No,
Well,
he
yeah,
doesn't.
That's just a little. I mean, we don't have to go there. That's a little mean.
I'm just saying we talk about the nepo babies, the children of great directors who are making movies. If we're thinking actors,
that's not happening
this
right-
is
The creator really had me selling my
yeah.
But he's the
my
protagonist.
stock.
But that movie.
But the
is
thing
not
about Tenet
him.
is the whole point is that he's a hollow.
yes, he's
Yes,
just a
and he
shell.
plays it so well. It's so, yeah. So
I don't.
He's
I
a-
think
he's a
Christopher Nolan
vessel.
just knew. He was just like, okay, he has to be
Who
this
direct-
character because that's it.
who
And then
directed?
this is about Rob Pattinson, actually.
Who directed the creator again?
Gareth
Edwards.
Not a good director either. So it's
No.
like I got to see him more. Or I've heard he's really good on stage in the piano lesson when he was with Sam Jackson. So
I'm just trying to see
Okay.
Tom Holland and Romeo and Juliet.
oh, for God's sakes,
Oh my God, that's in London when I go over
are you gonna
next
go?
month.
You gotta
And
check
I'm
it out.
thinking about it.
You
Because
gotta
it's
check
so
it out.
I've heard it's-
bad.
Is it okay with something like that though? Is it really bad, or is it just people wanting to, like the British press?
How do
wanting
you
to
write a
shit-
review of that?
Yeah,
Poorly written. Didn't care
Well,
for it.
yeah.
I mean,
like
a lot of it though
the
is
source
like, they put
material,
on-
not good. You know, it's
There have
like
been
what-
so many.
So it's just all about,
many
like, how they
iterations of
stage it
Romeo
and how it's
Juliet.
performed.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
staging, all of that stuff. So I don't know. I'm
Well,
curious
I'm
enough
never-
to see it.
This is not a shot at the British, but like they're the way
Go
the
away.
which
Fire away.
but
Just
the
kidding.
way that
Uh-oh.
no, I mean like the way that they cover certain things over there and definitely high profile things, they're not the kindest of critics, especially when it comes to something like this. And I don't think that they'll be totally fair to Holland even, and so I think it would, you know what I mean? Like I would like to hear if you did go. I'm not pushing you to spend your money,
Mhm.
Sophia, but like it would be nice to hear
Sophia, you better do it.
an outsider's perspective that isn't either a biased British journalist out there for the movie star going on the stage, which happens all
Yeah.
the time, and the super mega fan that like would have Tom Holland Spider-Man blinders on. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
somebody
I feel like I've
objectively, I
just-
would like to hear from. You know what I mean?
Mhm. I may have hit my limit on Romeo and Juliet productions.
So you're not going to go to the Rachel Zegler one? Is that what
Of
you're
course
doing?
not. No.
I think
That's so
some
good.
people would actually argue that Spider-Man and Mary Jane is actually sort of
A
the
Romeo.
20th century version of Romeo and Juliet.
What are you doing? What are you doing here tonight?
People are saying.
All right. Okay. Are you going to go to any stage plays or anything?
Yeah,
while
I
you're
think
out there?
I'm gonna see. I think I'm gonna see Much Ado About Nothing at the Globe. Actually, I think
Who's
that's
in
gonna
it?
be my Shakespeare.
Anybody
I actually don't know who's in
notable?
it. I just heard the production is good.
Kevin
And then
Spacey.
maybe
Stop it.
Stop.
God damn it.
It's an
I
all
wonder if
canceled.
he-
It's an all canceled
Cancel
production.
I'll save that for later.
Him,
About
John,
Kevin Spacey.
him, Johnny Depp.
Oh
Who
my
else would
God.
be? Who else would be in
Directed
the
by
J?
Woody Allen.
They let R. Kelly out.
Actually,
Yeah.
Brett Ratner's actually doing the production for him. They let Diddy out just for a cameo.
Brian
God.
Singer, yeah, helped.
Yeah. He did the Wembley Stadium.
Louis C.K. is in it weirdly.
Weirdly, yeah. Is there any canceled female out there? I guess I don't know who would. Yeah, who's the lead? Is Spacey the lead?
It's Louis C.K.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, shocking. Back to Crimson Tide. Anything else you
Yeah.
guys want to say about this movie?
Oh my God, I have so
I
much.
feel like we
So
haven't talked about Hackman enough either.
No, we
yeah,
have not
I
talked
want to
about
talk
Gene
about the
Hackman.
camera work. I want to talk about the visuals. There is one shot in this film when the sub is sinking where they pan up with the camera and it gives the sensation of sinking, and it is like so good. It rules so
Beautiful.
hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, all those rooms where there's any sort of computer is just like lit with the brightest blue and green lights you've ever seen. It just really gives this urgency to everything that's going on. It is such an urgent film, both thematically and visually. It's just like everything is in service of applying as much tension as possible. And for me, that scene where they're talking about the nature of war is like on par with the diner scene in Heat. I think it's like that good.
Yeah.
It's that good.
Oh, I like that comparison.
And
Well, that's
that's how
good.
good this movie is.
You think
Not as good as Heat, but it's really good.
I was gonna say like Heat's one of your favorite films of all time.
It's not as good as Heat, but nothing is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that scene you're talking about with when that pan, when we feel like we're being submerged, it's so grand too
Yes.
that it operates, I think, in a really nice contrast to when we're underwater and we get those really tight shots where we feel so claustrophobic. And it's this great contrast of interior and exterior work that I think just makes you feel even, I think, the way you're supposed to feel if you were trapped underwater for that long. And yeah, I feel like that's really some of his best camera work. And I think too, one of the things with the characters again that just really works for me is I always like that kind of like veteran young pup
Oh
dynamic. And I
yeah.
think I like seeing how directors play with that differently. Like David Fincher does it in Seven, of course. That's one of my favorite examples. But here, I think with Hackman, one of the details that I really like about him is his dog. I find the fact that he has a little
Yes.
dog
Yes.
such a good detail for this character. I think it's very unexpected that he would have a small dog. I don't know why when you first think about it, you're like, oh, he would have, a bigger dog, maybe like T, Denzel's character's dog. But I think when we have a beautiful shot of Hackman with Bear, his little dog, in the rain at the
That
beginning,
scene,
that's
Oh,
everything,
so
it's
so
like
good.
good.
pouring down rain. Everything is
Hmm.
so backlit. It's insane.
Yes.
Insane.
Like, it's just like, put a light over there, over there, over there. If you put a light in front of this camera, I swear to God, you're getting
Hmm.
fired. It looks so cool in
Hmm.
service of, yes, putting cool images on screen. More people need
Yeah.
to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
It rocks.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree with you, Sophia, because I think having that, even that small of a detail, just having a smaller dog, shows also too it shows the complexity within the decision making of this man,
To
and
me, it's all
also
about practicality. You need a
it's
little dog
Yeah.
yeah,
a little set.
Jack Russell's smartest breed in the world.
smartest breed in the world,
And he
but
pees
also
everywhere.
but but like yeah, where are they taking
Oh, at the end when he has like the
open
do
up the
not
hatch? It's gotta go. You know what I mean?
on the do not step on grass sign, and the dog
Yeah.
is like peeing in front of. That's great.
Yeah,
So good.
but like no, I mean, or it's holding it that whole time. You know, the tension is actually with the dog. But no, I thought about it just from the standpoint of it's like there's this bellowing, howling figure in the submarine, and his soft. He is in the end of it. He is he's kind of a softy. He's still a sympathetic guy. Like he's at the end of it, he's like, I am wrong. Maybe I am kind of fucked up. And he walks away and he goes and spends it with his little doggy. And then when it's all said and done, he's like, he ends up still doing the right thing. He's like, and that's why this is not as deplorable of a character as someone could have played. And that's what makes the complexity in Hackman's performance so good. It's like, we all clearly know he is wrong here and he is being reckless and he is being
And he has
a
self-doubt.
brute. And
Mhm.
but he has, that's the brilliance of the screenplay. But obviously, Hackman's able to convey the doubt that he has there, and that's where it goes back to what Sophia was saying of it being like a play. It feels like anytime he's uncertain, we see that uncertainty, and it plays more effective than any monologue would ever do. Is
Mhm.
that like I'm not sure, but I have stuck my and this is why I feel it's super relevant because people are so fixated on if their opinion is wrong that they double down on their bad opinion and don't admit or at least acknowledge the danger of being so gun-ho and set in your ways 10 toes deep into the sand on an
Mhm.
issue. And he has no choice because he has to stay like that also because he's in a powerful position. But if he wasn't, it would be really interesting to see how he would react. Because when he's not on that boat and he's not a tyrant, he's writing a recommendation to the man he almost literally killed. So it's that's what's so interesting about this movie. It's like,
But what
when
else?
you
What else
actually-
is the dilemma? The great nuclear dilemma of 2023. theory
Yeah.
versus practice. It's all
Exactly.
here.
Mm.
It's all
It's
here.
all here. It's
I
about
was
this idealist who is, or not even necessarily an idealist, but this thoughtful guy who is very kind of torn up about his profession and his place in the world. And this guy who is like, I do what I'm told because there are people who know what they're doing. It's all about
Well, he can't afford to make
line of
mistakes.
authority.
Yeah.
And then there's this event where it's like, I am following protocol in this particular. There's the thing about this movie. There's never been a movie that doesn't have men in capes flying around with higher stakes than Crimson Tide. There never has been. We're talking about nuclear annihilation is potentially what happens with this film. And it all takes place in this. It's a chamber piece.
Well, I mean,
about that.
I mean, Jay, technically, half of the world does get evaporated in Avengers: Infinity War, but I'm just trying to save you from the.
Well, I said
comments.
without. I mean, that's flying around in capes.
Oh, okay.
That's what I said.
So you're saying that's. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying
there's never been a movie without that nonsense in it.
Oh,
that
okay.
has higher stakes than this.
Oh, I thought you were implying that like no film with capes have ever had this, and like
no. If I said that, that's not what I meant.
Okay.
But what about Oppenheimer?
Yeah, I mean, like.
Well, Oppenheimer has the
Yeah, I mean,
the scene in Oppenheimer where they are. Oppenheimer is miraculous because there is a second where you're like, oh my god, is the atmosphere gonna set on fire?
Well,
is that what's gonna happen?
One of the many great scenes, and the great scene of Oppenheimer is the 3 hours of that movie. But the
entire third hour.
The entire movie from start to finish. Yeah. Great scene. But no, I'm
mostly in it for the JFK cameo.
I know you are. But the one scene that always gets me, and I think you're pointing that Jay, is the scene between Groves and Oppenheimer the hours before they're about to do the Trinity test. And he's like, and Groves was never informed about the potential that it could blow up the atmosphere. And Damon sells it completely fantastic. Or he's like, we're all sitting there like, wait a minute, you're telling me that there's a possibility that, we could blow up the world?
There's a non-zero chance.
Yeah. And he's just like, what do you want from theory alone? We got to try this thing out. And yes, Jay, when you're there, you're like,
watch this.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, shit, maybe they are going to blow up the world. How did they get away with it? But we all clearly know, because we're living in a post-Oppenheimer world, that they were successful, but it does inform that seed of doubt. And that they're not going to go into a nuclear holocaust at the end of this movie. But again, it's the brilliant thing about movies where it makes you take your mind away from the sense of like, okay, I know how this is going to go. And you get so invested in the story and the tension of these characters that you're like, for God's sakes, somebody fix the damn radar thing to get the facts in, to get it to them, to authenticate it, to all that. It is. I know why Jay and I love this movie, and I know why Sophia does. This is about people trying to be good at their jobs. This is an ultimate. Who's good at your job?
And
who's better?
Elevated sense of duty.
Yes,
it's very much about process.
It's process, and who is the best really at this job?
But not even necessarily physical process, but like mental process.
Yes, it's the way you can see the ways that they think, and like that, how that changes and evolves really throughout the movie. And one of the things I was thinking about with Oppenheimer and Crimson Tide, as I was watching Crimson Tide, is that great line that in a nuclear world, the true enemy cannot be destroyed, which is just a great line in the screenplay, but it makes you think about, I think, that feeling that you get at near the end of Oppenheimer, actually at the very end, when he's talking to Einstein, and that feeling of just like intense emptiness falls over
I've
you.
opened a can of worms that can
and that I think you feel the
box.
repercussions of that in this movie and what it actually does to people in that post Oppenheimer world.
But what actually one of my favorite scenes in Crimson Tide is? It's when Ramsey is taken off, right? And Hunter has taken command of the of the vessel, and Walters, the chief of the boat, Cobb, right? Cobb of the boat. He Hunter kind of goes over to him and was kind of like, "Thank you for," and he goes, "I don't agree with what you did, but it's protocol. It was the right moment, but I don't like your method of how you basically got to this conclusion." And it's an acknowledgement between the two already from the get-go, before any of it gets even wilder and the guns start coming out and all this stuff, which is like the guns on a submarine. It's just like, you guys don't understand that, like, these little weapons mean actually nothing to what you're actually carrying. But it right there is already informing Denzel to know that what you're doing here, you're killing your career. Because if you're not right here, you're done. And also, it goes back to then later with Hackman when he's got him, you got 3 minutes, right? And they're sitting there and he goes, well, if I'm wrong, we're going to nuclear war. But he knows that it's, and you're like, well, shit. I mean, like,
oh no, that's one of the best lines of the movie too. When he's like, "If you're wrong, God help you." And
God help
like,
you.
If I'm wrong, God help us all.
Yeah,
We're at war. That rocks. Oh,
The drama.
so
It's so dramatic. It's
so
great.
dramatic.
Oh.
And then, like, we spend the next 45 seconds with a guy trying to fix. No, wait, go back. Fix this little monitor just to. Oh, we got it. And then you're just like, that is more thrilling of a scene to get that monitor and that communications setup fixed, right? To me, that is more thrilling than any of the dogfighting sequences in Top Gun. It is like, I'm like, please fix it. And I've seen this movie at least 10 times in my lifetime. And I know for a fact every single time I'm like, Yusuf, I'm like, for the love of God, please get those wires to work.
I was watching this movie. I was watching this movie by myself, and when they get the turbines working again, when they're singing, I literally was just here pumping my fist. I was like, "That dude, hell yeah, let's go."
It's emotional. It makes you. It really has that great effect on you. And I think I do want to talk about too the score, the Zimmer score,
Hans.
which feels like a Gregorian chant underwater. And I
Oh
think
my God. When the sub goes underground and they're doing like a hymn, I'm just like,
all right, Ham. I see
it
what
makes
you're doing
it feel
here.
like a cathedral.
Hans, you did not have to go this hard, my guy.
Yeah. I love it. It's amazing how
I can understand why
this score sounds as opposed to people screaming in the desert in Dune.
I can understand why Nolan wanted to use him for a while. Or
it is a weirdly like spiritual score.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, you know what? That was like
and also it's like pre-Pirates of the Caribbean as well.
Yeah. I mean, God, I love this movie.
What's the best Han score?
Movie.
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question.
I think I go Thin Red Line.
Oh, I do like that one.
Or I mean, Lion King is a banger, and that's been playing in the Ledbetter house recently.
I know Jay's not gonna like me saying this, but
you're gonna say Interstellar.
I'm gonna say Interstellar.
Interstellar score is good.
I do like the Interstellar score a lot.
I love that movie. Sorry.
I love there are a few. I used to study to that one.
I mean, his score for those those Batman movies.
I like the Inception one too.
Yeah.
I love the Dunkirk score.
Yeah. I like
He's not really one of my composers though.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to.
Who's your composer?
Johnny Greenwood.
Oh, Johnny.
Yeah, Greenwood's kind of
Resner and Ross. I do love.
I
like the ones who have their
Nicholas Britell
is
a genius.
Ludwig Göransson when he's working with Nolan, because Tenet and Oppenheimer slap. So
those are some bangers.
The If Beale Street Could Talk score.
Nicholas Britell, yeah,
it's one of the all-time scores for me.
Even the Moonlight score.
Yeah,
he did the theme for Success, all the music for Succession. Never won an Emmy for it, which is ridiculous. Like the last season, episode 3, the score that he did for that episode Sophia, I think you know what episode I'm talking about.
I
He
do.
could get an
Oh, yeah.
EGOT.
He could if they give him wins. Like, he has an Emmy. I think he should have a Grammy.
Oh, I feel like he has to.
He doesn't have an Oscar though. So,
Which is ridiculous.
oh, you know what's a great Hans? You know what's a
Hmm.
great Hans one? And it's controversial. It's controversial to say this about Hans Zimmer, but the Pirates of the Caribbean score is pretty iconic. But there's also the rumor
I
that
used
The
he's
to
Pirates
love
of the
that
Caribbean theme is an all-time banger.
It is. Yeah.
Gladiator score is great too.
Gladiator score is good.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock. Something's got to give.
Uh-oh.
You guys.
I mean,
I won't say anything.
I mean that
I
score.
love that movie.
I love that movie. You can
Oh,
say
Nicholas
you can say
Patel
you
did
love
the
that movie.
score
There's nothing wrong with
for
it.
Vice.
That is a 5-star movie for me. Diane Keaton and her turtlenecks.
So good.
My real mother.
So good. But you know what?
I will say for Sophia, if Diane Keaton shows up in a turtleneck, like if she recommends it and says it's 5-star, you can consider it like 4.5 stars. It's inflated.
The movie
True.
got the half-star
It gets the
turtleneck
bump.
bump.
There's
Yeah,
a
the
half
turtleneck
star
bump.
per turtleneck.
I always
So-
love Jack and something's got to give. Turtlenecks in the summer. You ever get hot? You know what I mean?
Just a turtleneck kind of gal.
God, I love Jack so much. No, but 5 years, and I get like Sophia. The other thing about like Crimson Tide, when I was young, I always got it kind of mixed up because they both have red and black covers, and they're both submarine movies. I always got this mixed up with Hunt for Red October.
Oh, what's
Yeah.
better?
Oh, this is easily
This-
better.
I think this is better.
This is
like,
easily better.
but Hunt for Red October is a very good movie.
It is.
Mhm.
It is
I
the
like it
best
too.
of. It is the best of all the Grisham, or not Grisham, the Clancy
Yeah.
movies. I rewatched the Harrison Ford ones. They weren't that good. The Clear and
Air
Present
Force One?
Oh.
No,
yeah.
Air
No,
Force
not Air Force One. Clear and Present Danger.
Danger
and,
and Patriot Games.
Patriot Games, yeah.
I want to watch the Affleck one, Sum of All Fears, because I remember that actually being good, and that's actually Tom Clancy's favorite. Jack Ryan is Ben Affleck.
What
Says
about Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit?
I will. Okay. That movie is
Wasn't there a Jack
it's fine.
Ryan
TV show with John Krasinski.
Krasinski,
Yeah, I know.
director of
Yeah.
If?
You see If?
Has the world just forgot about If?
Haven't gotten around to If yet.
Feels like when the FYC campaign for If starts, you'll get back into that one, right, Jay?
I'm so excited for your review.
I might watch it one day. I
I
don't
feel
know.
like, you know what, Jay? I feel like your
Still
father-in-law
haven't
will.
seen Godfather 3. I might watch If though.
I feel that your father-in-law will buy If, and you will watch If the next time you're with him, because Jay's father-in-law buys all the.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, he's for like the movies you don't want to buy, Jay.
All the junk.
All the junk. What was the? Do you have a latest one that you did or with him?
Well, he bought Civil War. I watched Civil War.
Oh, with
on
him.
his account.
Okay.
That's so
Um,
funny.
When
I
you
don't
watched
think he knew what he was in for with Civil War. I will say.
Rebel Moon with him, are you looking?
No, I
forward
never
to-
watched Rebel Moon 2.
I was gonna say,
Gotta check that out.
you gonna watch the part 2 with him?
Might have to. I bet he's already watched it.
I bet he has, and he can probably.
I'm waiting for the
explain
director's
nothing to-
cut.
the Snyder cut of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Rebel Moon 2 is
Um,
begging to be in black and white.
God, isn't probably Warner Brothers is just sitting there. It took me a second to actually think what he was saying there. I bet Warner Brothers is so happy that's like a Netflix problem and not their problem anymore.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But
Oh, sure.
anything else you guys want to say about Crimson Tide, though?
It's kind of hard to
Ramsey
stop.
plays the Barry Lyndon music in his quarters.
He reminds me of Reynolds Woodcock.
Mm.
He's a little bit of like, don't interrupt me energy.
When Denzel gets slapped by Hackman in this movie,
No, punt, like straight up
I
punch.
punched him in the face. I was like,
And Denzel's just
I was
so
like, Gene!
serene.
I was like,
Yeah.
Gene, you're not supposed to do that. It just,
Their opposite energies really is the driving force of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
Hackman's-
good. We haven't
but
talked
Hackman's-
about the freaking cast. Everybody else in this movie.
Oh my God,
Gandolfini,
yeah.
Vigo,
James Gandolfini.
Steve
Steve
Zahn.
Zahn.
Yeah.
All these guys, a bunch of guys who are pretty underserved generally, are given slightly bigger roles in this. I mean, it's obviously the Denzel and Hackman show, but
Well,
Vigo, let me tell you,
Vigo's-
looking great.
Vigo's
Okay.
always been a
Very sweaty in this movie.
Yeah.
Very
Mhm.
sweaty.
Well, the whole ship is like, turn on the AC. God damn.
The other thing I love so much about this movie, they put the main quarters on a gimbal, and you
Yeah.
can see like sometimes they're like slanted walking
Uh-huh.
up when the ship is ascending. It's so good. God,
love
it's
that.
good.
I
You know what's
love-
cool? When they build sets for movies
Yeah.
and then there are people on them and then they have to deal with the physical environment around them. I think that's a cool thing that movies used to do.
Yeah, and they just don't do that anymore, do they, Jay?
It's
Don't
crazy.
do it on a
I
set.
love this movie.
You know what? I love that James Gandolfini is doing the role that Kiefer Sutherland was unavailable to do. Like at this time, it felt like Kiefer Sutherland was always playing the asshole to the main bad guy. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
Tony Scott was all in on Gandolfini. I mean, True Romance.
He
He
was.
was like very in on Gandolfini.
Yeah.
it's kind of
He's an
crazy
early
that,
adopter,
like,
early investor.
that he kind of had.
He should have a producer's credit on The Sopranos.
Yeah, he should, because he's got like one of the great actors of of their time, like just kind of playing a bit role as a kind of lieutenant goon sort of
I
character.
love that
you
he's
know what I mean?
into movie trivia. That's fun,
Submarine
always.
movie trivia.
Mhm.
Submarine
He has
movie,
his
yeah.
own specific niche.
Yes,
Yeah, he does. No cold cut.
that was probably some Tarantino stuff too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
Big
That was so
time.
Tarantino. The other really funny thing about this movie that just always makes me laugh is at the beginning when they're at the birthday party and this tragic news is just playing on the TV in the background when Denzel and Vigo are
Oh yeah,
like, oh, it's time to go, Then in the background there are all these
Who
children.
turned this on? Right? It's like,
Yeah, like
Who thought
why is
this was-
on at the
Yeah.
party?
did you guys not grow up with the TV on at parties?
No, I
was you-
did. I mean,
Okay.
that's the funny
That's-
part of
yeah,
it.
That's the funny
Is
part.
it is just a very 90s thing.
Well, like my birthday was always during March Madness, so my dad always wanted the basketball games on, and my mom, when they were together at the time when I was young, they were like, we're not putting the game on. And then all my uncles come over and be like, hey, where's the game? Like we're wanting, it's March, so it's always on in the background. But yeah, never my job specific news is coming on. I gotta
it's
go.
just such a funny way to
Wrap up
introduce
my
it. I
piece
love
of
it.
cake. I gotta go. No, I think like I love Vigo in this movie because he's kind of the audience. He's kind of us, the rest of everybody, where he's trapped in the middle of this. He's not picking a side here. And I love that about that. It's like the choice of like most of the crew gets divided, but he's really, for me at least, he is the one that is. He sees both sides of this of what these two men, and he has deep respect kind of and one way or another for both of them, but he is in the middle of them, and I think that that's hard to play, and I think that that's also like it's not as showy, like you said, Jay, as Hackman and Washington, but it is as vital of a performance here to get the audience to buy into the level of severity, the intensity, the anxiety that's going on, the internal emotions that's going on, rather than just what's physically being displayed. So I think Vigo's great.
I just realized we haven't even talked about the best line in the movie that I'm actually not going to repeat, but it's so good.
I know the one you're thinking of.
Can't say it.
I'm not going to say it.
The day jobs, if they found
Yes.
found it, it would be yeah.
So, but yeah, is that it? Do you guys got anything
I mean, like
else?
I can keep going and talk about like, it was cool when they did this. What else was cool when this thing happened? But I don't think that'd make for a good podcast.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Jay?
I feel good.
Jay,
Yeah,
before we get out of here, are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed in a segment we like to call It's an Honor to get nominated. Now, Jay's been up and down a little bit. He's been tricked by this. You know, Jay early on in this series, just a side note, Jay was like, oh, I don't think we're going to be doing this a lot. And then he's been, oh, maybe it did get nominated or maybe it didn't or when, you know. And so it's a little bit up and down, Sophia. So I got to ask the question of all questions. Jay Ledbetter, was Crimson Tide nominated for any Oscars? And if so, what was it nominated for?
So I think there are only 2 Oscars this could have been nominated for.
Okay.
And I think they're sound. And I'm going to say that it was nominated for 2 sound Oscars, and I'm going to assume that was all. I can't imagine it would have gotten anything else.
Okay. So you're right that it got nominated for 2 sound nominations.
Okay, good for me. Are you saying
Best
there's
sound-
more?
Best sound and best sound effects editing, which is basically best. It sounds like, Sophia, based off of this, is like sound editing and sound mixing. That's kind of what it is. Yeah. But you're missing the biggest one, buddy, which is this was nominated for best editing.
You know what? Good for the Oscars.
Yeah. That's
a great nom.
It is. It is a fantastic category. Well, I wouldn't say fantastic category. There is one bad nominee in there probably, but there's 2 very inspired nominees in the film editing category. So the nominees are Babe, Braveheart, Apollo 13, which was the winner.
I always forget that Apollo 13 came out this early.
Yeah. Crimson Tide, and Seven. Seven got nominated here. That's very inspired. Yeah. This was the year of when everybody loved Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
They repeated
95,
this.
pretty decent movie year.
It's a really good movie year.
95 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But odd Oscars.
Odd Oscars, yes. Like the 2 Dead Men Walking wins, which, I mean,
I love that actress lineup, though. Love the actress lineup.
I love that one. The Leaving Las Vegas win.
Casino.
Under Siege 2.
This, speaking of Kevin Spacey, this is the first Oscar that he wins for the Usual Suspect.
Oh, that's
he also is in Seven this year, so he had a big year.
Big year.
Emma Thompson wins her Oscar for Sense and Sensibility as a writer. Christopher McQuarrie, Tom Cruise's guy, wins the other Oscar for The Usual Suspects. Yeah. It's a good year.
What are we nominating this one for?
Do we nominate it for score?
Actress. We got.
Okay.
Look, I mean, if I'm being honest, what I'm nominating it for is just going down the line. Film. Best film.
Okay, so do you want to know what the pictures are?
Yes.
Okay, it's Braveheart, Apollo 13.
Get it out of here. Get it out of here.
Babe.
Get it out of here.
El Postino.
Get it out of here.
And Sense and Sensibility.
Get it out of here. There's only one nominee. It's Crimson Tide.
You would kick out Babe? Babe's a masterpiece.
It's not as good as Crimson Tide.
Babe's a great movie.
I love Babe
gotta
to
put
death.
in it's Heat, Crimson Tide, Seven, Showgirls. There's so many good 1995 movies.
Interesting.
Casino.
Casino.
Yeah.
My favorite Scorsese.
Is that your? Yeah, you've settled on that being your favorite, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bridges of Madison County.
Oh my God.
My favorite Wong Kar-wai film came out this year.
Which? Oh, Fallen Angels.
Fallen Angels.
Yeah.
Safe.
God damn it! I love Bridges of
Todd
Madison
Haynes.
County. I watched that the other day. Oh my
Guys,
God.
I told you last time I watched it, sobbing. It
Oh.
was terrible.
You know what?
It
You
was
know
like
what's good about
ugly
that movie?
crying.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
That's
It's
all
Clint's
good.
follow. That's Clint's follow up to Unforgiven.
It
Like,
might be
that's-
better than Unforgiven.
I think it might be too.
It's one or two.
I think it is my favorite Clint.
I think
More of a
I like-
cry macho guy.
Mhm.
I would go Unforgiven just because
Jersey Boys.
if there's the one thing I don't like about the Bridges of Madison County, the one thing, it's the one criticism I have of it. It's the oldest son
Ugh.
in the flash forward. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
That
I
fucking
was gonna
ding
say,
dong.
you don't like the grown-up children, do
I don't
you?
like the grown up
Yeah.
children. No, I don't mind hers.
But
He's
it's
just
him.
like
It is
the way
him,
he's
yeah.
written and the way it's played. He plays like the older actor plays it like he is a 5-year-old child getting this news, and that it's
Yeah.
the most scandalous thing that his mother had this beautiful affair, right, or this beautiful connection with this person, and he's like making it about himself. That's the one bad thing about that movie. Other than
Yeah.
that, it's still a 5 out of 5 star.
Well, that whole framing device too is just so of the time.
It's so
it works.
yeah, it's so
but
90s.
Like very
of
much
like,
of the 90s.
we're going to
yeah.
show you the beginning. We're going to show you the end of the movie, but then we're going to put it in a book and leather bound it and make in you.
Yeah.
The point in that movie where he goes, where she's reading the letter from obviously their mother's Meryl Streep, like these 3, she goes like, these 3 notebooks will explain the movie. I'm like, oh, so
Yeah.
it'll explain the next 90 to 45, like to 90 to 2 hours as I'm
Yeah.
about to watch it. Like, I'm like, God damn it. The 90s were like thought,
Yeah.
well, our audiences are really stupid, but also we're going to show you something really incredible inside these 3 leather bound books. And so, but yes, it's still a masterpiece, and I would nominate it for Best Picture. Honestly, I would consider. Why wasn't Clint nominated for director? Why didn't
I know. This
it was
directing
only
lineup,
Meryl?
too, I'm
It was
like,
only Meryl, right? Like Meryl was the only
I
thing
think,
nominated.
yeah,
for
she's
that
the
movie.
only one. I mean, she
And
is
that
the
was such
best
a-
thing about the movie, I think, but still.
It was a
should have
popular.
more.
Why wasn't that in like adapted screenplay? It was such a popular book. It
Especially
makes
for the time too. It just like doesn't really make sense that it wasn't included anywhere else.
what was their big damn hang up on El Pastino? Like
Ugh, I don't
what?
know.
I don't like that movie. I don't like it.
It's just like yeah,
it's-
it's not a
it's-
movie we think about. We think about
no.
this year.
Leaving Las Vegas too, I can kind of take it or leave it. And
Mostly leaving it.
Jay, so you would nominate this in picture, and you would nominate the tone setter in director, right?
big time.
Who do you put in actor?
Both. Thelma and Louise it up. And also at the Spike TV Dudes Rock Awards for Best Dudes Rockin' Duos. I think it's a stacked year for that. You got Pitt, Freeman, 7. De Niro, Pacino, Heat. Hackman, Denzel, Crimson Tide. You've got Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis in Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah.
You've got Goofy and his son in a Goofy movie. I mean, honestly, the Apollo 13, get that whole crew in there. Those dudes are rocking and rolling.
Well, wouldn't like William Wallace and like his compadres in Braveheart, wouldn't they qualify?
Oh, but also freaking Bad Boys. Obviously.
Yeah, there's Bad Boys. Yeah, Babe and his friends.
Those boys are bad.
Babe and
Even
the old
his
man.
friends.
Babe and the old man. They're a duo at the end when they got a show. You know, to move the sheep.
James Cromwell.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that'll do, pig. That's
I
that's
love
one of the
Babe.
great lines in
love
cinema.
Babe.
I freaking love Babe.
And then Babe 2 is one of the
It's a wild film.
wildest
It's
films. By the way,
But you know what, George?
what?
The first one's better. You didn't direct it.
Wow,
It's
that's
better.
wow.
He was very resentful that he didn't get to direct the first one.
yeah.
I wonder, which Doof Warrior or which Mad Max character would have made it into.
I actually call the second Babe film, Pig in the City, a Babe saga.
Oh, a Babes. Well, here's the interesting thing about score is, and why I think it should get in there. One, there were 2 score lineups. This was when we had 2 scores.
Oh yeah.
We had the best original dramatic score and best original musical or comedy score. So Pocahontas won the original musical and comedy score, whatever. And then El Pastino won the dramatic score, whatever. But here's the funny thing. The Grammys gave best instrumental composition written for a motion picture or television to Hans Zimmer for Crimson Tide.
Wow.
So, and he wasn't nominated in either of these categories. What the hell?
Oscars can be weird sometimes.
And he's coming off of Lion King too, which is interesting because Lion King's 94. Yeah. But like Jay, so you would nominate both Hackman and you would nominate Denzel, but then what are you going to do with like the Heat guys? Would you nominate both Heat guys?
Of course.
Okay, so you've got 2 movies taking up 4 spots, and then you'll just figure out the other one later.
We're going to category fraud Morgan Freeman, put him in supporting.
Oh, you're going to category fraud Morgan. Well, wouldn't you just put Pitt into supporting?
We're going De Niro double actor nom.
What's the other one?
Casino.
Oh, Casino. Morgan Freeman is the lead.
I
of that
love
movie.
Sharon Stone in Casino.
I love Pesci in that movie. It's so wild. It's weird. That movie's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
I'm not as high on it as both of you guys, but it's still like a 5 out of 5.
Which one? Casino?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it a
Good
lot.
film, I think.
Yeah.
I like it when they go to the casino.
Best actor is a weird Massimo Tuazzi for El Pastino.
I have not seen El Pacino. Pastino.
Well, you're gonna see it now.
You gotta watch it.
You can put it on. Sean Penn
Just
for Dead Man Walking.
Watch it in between your Bad Boys watches.
Anthony Hopkins for Nixon, which is a movie no one should ever watch because it's awful.
I think I used that actually on Cinematrix the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Richard Dreyfuss from Mr. Holland's Opus.
You know what movie is
Richard Dreyfuss really
supremely-
in the news for what do you think, Jay? What do you think of Richard Dreyfuss in the news?
I mean, he seems like a cool guy. His son is a great presence on Twitter.
Okay,
What's his name? Ben? Is that his name?
I guess so.
Dude's awful.
And then
Dreyfuss seems like a pretty miserable fellow.
Yeah, it seems like it. I would not want to go, if it said Q&A Richard Dreyfuss, I'm out. And then this was when Nick Cage won for Leaving Las Vegas.
Yeah,
So,
whatever.
I'm not gonna. I may not like the movie or whatnot, but I do kind of like that Nicolas Cage has an Oscar. It's kind of like it's a cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus.
I mean, give it to him for adaptation, right?
That's fine. It's just the AwardsWatch comment when we don't really care for something.
It's fine. All right. Anything? No other things you? I mean, cinematography. You should have gotten to that, right?
Screenplay easy, cinematography easy,
Production design
easy.
Yeah.
easy. What was in the? Well, I guess that'd be art direction. So restoration, Apollo 13, Babe, A Little Princess, Richard III.
I just love how Babe took over the Oscars.
That does rock.
Cinematography, Braveheart, Shanghai Tirade,
Batman Forever.
Sense and Sensibility, A Little Princess, and Batman Forever.
Batman Forever being there is
That's
fascinating.
actually a really good nomination.
It
'Cause
is, yeah.
That
I
movie's
like that.
wild.
Like,
That's
oh,
more an art direction than
I would say art direction though. That's why
cinematography.
I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did Seal get nominated?
Da, 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 da,
That's
da.
the only reason why I said that out loud, so that we could get him to sing some of it. No, I don't think it was an original song for the movie, but it was like off his album, and then they used it. But we all assume that song is an original song because it got really popular once the movie came out. Colors of the Wind won
It beat Bruce Springsteen.
for Dead Man Walking. And
There used to be a graying tower alone on the sea. And you became.
no, my favorite is, but did you know? Yeah, like that part is always my favorite. You Got a Friend in Me was also nominated. I'm gonna shut down this show.
My
Sophia,
eyes become large and the light that you shine can't be seen.
baby. Sophia, thank you so much again for coming on this show. I don't know why you keep doing it, but you but I think him singing kind of self-explains it.
Yeah.
Can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet? I can't stop laughing at him. I'm sorry.
No, I know, me either. I'm not going to be able to get through this. I have fun every time I come on the show. Thank you guys again for having me. Love Crimson Tide. And you can find me on Twitter at Sophia_Sim. You can find me on Letterboxd at Faye Dunaway. And you can find my podcast, Oscar Wilde, at Oscar Wilde Pod.
Did you
And
really
can find all of my interviews, reviews, and more podcasts at AwardsWatch.
did you really take at Faye Dunaway away from Twitter?
No, it's my
Or
Letterboxd
on
handle.
Letterboxd? Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel
it's
like
at Faye Dunaway.
you could like offer it to like Bowen Yang for like $1 million.
Well, I thought that he would have had it because he has it on Instagram
Yeah, and Twitter I think too.
and Twitter, but he didn't have it, so I took it.
I think you should be like, hey, you
Mhm.
want it? It's going to cost you 2 tickets to Cannes. So, Jay, how about you tell us where we can find you, all your work, maybe sing a little song, and then also recommendation of the week, buddy.
What does "I've been kissed by a rose on the gray" mean? He keeps saying that over and over again.
Wait, say it one more time. No, just say it. You know,
Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the gray. Ooh, kiss from a rose on the gray. What does that mean?
on the gray, not the grave.
They're saying gray. They're saying there is some debate. However, it apparently has been confirmed that it is gray.
I like how like Jay is like
Hmm.
Kevin Costner and JFK right now over the Seal song.
Yeah, we're gonna do the Drake diss next.
We are not doing that. You madman.
Anyway, okay.
I'll look it up while you're talking. Yes.
Seal has been asked to clarify, but he refuses.
Wow. Seal. What else has he got going on? You can't explain what that means. Twitter, J Ledbetter, at Mr. J Ledbetter, Letterboxd, J Ledbetter. Movie recommendation of the week. I got a weird one for you.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite new filmmakers is a gentleman by the name of Lance Oppenheim. He's a great young documentarian, and he has a couple things going on right now. One, I think more notably in the eyes of the public, is a HBO series he has going on called Ren Fair, which is it's like a 3-episode documentary series about this Renaissance fair. It's basically Succession at a Renaissance fair. He also made a film a few years ago called Some Kind of Heaven that I loved about what are they called? The villages in Florida, the retirement community.
Oh yeah, we watched that
Yeah.
one. We reviewed that. Is
I think that movie is great.
Oh,
And he has another movie this year that is on Hulu. It is called, wait for it, Sperm World. And it is awesome. It's so good. He's such a compelling, formal experimenter. It's about the black market world of sperm donation. And it is like this
damn.
insane combination of cringy, hilarious, tragic. It's all shot in like, sometimes it's like super overexposed purposefully, but it just gives you these compelling characters who are going through these very unique situations, and you completely understand their headspace at any given moment. He's so good at capturing these super niche communities and not judging them, but like showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of it without kind of impressing some sort of opinion on the whole thing. He's awesome. I think he's one of the great film talents to emerge in the last few years, and it's pretty awesome that we've got 2 things from him this year. So, Sperm World, Ren Fair, check him out.
I gotta go and watch this because I love that documentary.
That movie,
talked about
that
that
our
on-
first movie, Some Kind of Heaven, is
Is a
one of my
delightful
favorite
film.
documentaries of the last like
Oh my
10
gosh,
years.
I haven't seen that.
Didn't that come out in like
have to watch it.
2020,
It was like
2021?
2020.
Something like that. I
Yeah.
think it's on Hulu.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. It's really, really good. And it's, I mean, if you want to watch some wild, horny people in Florida living in a community, it's actually quite moving by the end of it. Yeah, and that just sounds like a really interesting documentary. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, I'm sold,
that out.
Jay. Sold, Jay. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd.
We could get him on the
McQuade.
pod too. We could get him on the pod.
We could probably get him on the pod. You can find
Sophia, you're out of here.
me on all of the shut up on all of the social media platforms I just said: Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, McQuade77. You can find all my work here at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, Mondays we release the Awards Watch podcast, the main show. iTunes, Spotify, 5-star reviews, we greatly appreciate it. Over on the website, go and sign up for the newsletter. Doing that gets you get sent an email twice a week. That's the best way to get all of our news, reviews, interviews, and podcasts sent to you. And then you're caught up on all things Awards Watch. Movie recommendation for me. Been watching some oldies but a goodies. And so I'm gonna do 2 this week because they're great movies, and they were movies that showed the wife. The wife loved both of them. First one, don't know if you've ever seen it. Jay, I think you might have seen it. Sophia, I don't know if you have. I showed her Enter the Dragon. Classic
Haven't
Bruce
seen
Lee.
it.
You guys haven't seen Enter the Dragon?
Mm-mm. No, I need to.
Great movie. Just
Own it. Haven't seen it.
super silly, crazy, like just Bruce Lee. It was released.
That's the guy that
posthumously.
Cliff Booth beat up in the parking lot.
Correct. Yes, that is fact. But anyway, no, I mean it's his biggest, most well-known hit, but it's also just a really fun and wild and weird little movie that I have good nostalgia for. It's a little slow in the middle, but the action scenes, especially involving Lee, are incredible and incredibly choreographed, which was his calling card. So, Enter the Dragon movie you got to see. Another action movie. Been doing the action movie carousel because I've got all these movies on 4K now. I watched Point Break. She had never seen Point Break.
That's a film.
That
That's a
is
good
a
one.
good frickin' film, folks. Bigelow series may be down the road because I found it so interesting, and Keanu and Swayze together, my God, just electric chemistry. In
You
this
know who I
movie.
love too? Lori Petty.
Lori
really
Petty's
like
good.
Petty.
Gary Busey's pretty good too. He's playing, kind of like the veteran cop. He's weird. The first way
Hey,
he's
Utah.
introduced. Yeah. Hey, Utah. Hey,
Give me 2.
Yeah, give it 2 meatball subs. Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously the action's really great, but just the Utah and Bodie, their connection, how complicated it is, it's freaking great. So go watch it if you haven't seen it. 2 great action movies. That's what I can recommend to you this week. Jay recommended, I guess, 2 documentaries. I can recommend 2 action movies. You kind of have to balance it out, right? Sometimes you got to watch a really
We
great,
contain multitudes.
elevated action movie, and then a great, introspective documentary.
Sometimes we cover Sofia Coppola. Sometimes we cover Tony Scott.
Exactly. What will we do next? Well, that's in a couple weeks to find out. Okay. Well, next week we will be back. We're going to be talking about some more Hackman, but we sub out Denzel Washington for Will Smith because we are going to be
Big Willie
talking
time.
about Enemy of the State. Will be next week.
He
We're looking-
slapped a guy on stage at the Oscars.
Oh my God. No, we will be back next week. We're going to talk about Enemy of the State.
That was
Right.
unbelievable.
Try to not have Jay bring up the slap again. But thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.